The cold pavement bit into Ethan Walker's knees as he pressed down on the elegant woman's chest, counting compressions while rain soaked through his work clothes. 1, 2, 3, 4. The crowd of onlookers grew larger, but no one else stepped forward to help. 28, 29, 30. He'd never forget the moment Helena Blackwood's eyes fluttered open, or how he quietly slipped away before the paramedics could get his name. He had no idea that saving this billionaire's life would transform his own in ways he never imagined. Follow my story to the end and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. The warehouse alarm shrieked at 5:30 a.m. just as it had every weekday for the past 18 months. Ethan Walker's hand emerged from beneath the threadbare comforter, fumbling across the nightstand until he found the source of the noise and silenced it. In the darkness of the small apartment, he could hear Lily stirring in the next room, her 7-year-old body rustling against sheets that needed replacing but would have to wait another month. He sat on the edge of the bed, feet touching the cold floor, and ran his hands through hair that had started showing gray streaks far too early for a man of 34. The photo on his nightstand caught the streetlight filtering through the window. Claire's smile frozen in time, holding newborn Lily, while Ethan looked on with the stunned joy of new fatherhood. 2 years. It had been 2 years since cancer stole her away, and mornings were still the hardest. That moment between sleep and consciousness, when his mind forgot she was gone, reaching for her warmth before reality crashed back. "Daddy," Lily's voice came from the doorway, small and uncertain. "Morning, sweetheart." He forced warmth into his voice, opening his arms as she patted across the floor in her 2 small pajamas, the ones with unicorns that Claire had bought, now faded and worn at the knees. She climbed into his lap, her weight familiar and grounding. "I dreamed about Mommy again." "Yeah. What was she doing?" "Making pancakes. She said to tell you to stop worrying so much." Ethan's throat tightened. Even in death, Claire was trying to take care of them. "That sounds like her." They went through their morning routine with practiced efficiency. Ethan made scrambled eggs while Lily got dressed for school, her chatter filling the small kitchen as she talked about her upcoming art project, and whether her teacher, Mrs. Patterson, would like the drawing she'd made of their apartment building. "Why do you think she wants us to draw our homes?" Lily asked, carefully spreading grape jelly on toast. "Maybe to learn about each other's lives," Ethan suggested, though he suspected it was also a way for the teacher to understand her students' circumstances. Lily attended a school where most kids qualified for free lunch, where tired parents worked multiple jobs, where art supplies were luxuries. "Jessica's drawing her house with a pool," Lily said. "She's lying, though. She lives in the same building as Marcus, and they don't have pools." "Maybe she's drawing her dream house." Lily considered this. "Then I should draw a castle." "You could. Or you could draw our home and show how special it is because we're together in it." She smiled that brilliant expression that was pure Claire, the ability to find light in any darkness. "I like that better." After walking Lily to school, savoring those 15 minutes of hand-holding and listening to her observations about everything from cloud shapes to why ants walked in lines, Ethan caught the bus to Morrison Warehouse. The commute took 40 minutes. The city slowly shifting from residential poverty to industrial decay as they moved toward the district where things were stored, shipped, and forgotten. The warehouse was already humming with activity when he arrived. Forklifts beeped their warnings, conveyor belts groaned under the weight of endless packages, and men in reflective vests moved through the aisles like ghosts in a machine. "Walkerts," Pete Morrison, the floor supervisor, called out. "Need you on the loading dock today? Jimmy called in sick." Ethan nodded, grabbing his vest and gloves. The loading dock meant heavier work packages that machines couldn't handle, items that required human judgment and manual strength. It also meant his back would scream by lunch and his shoulders would ache through dinner, but he never complained. Complainers got their hours cut. The morning passed in a blur of lifting, carrying, and stacking. His coworker Carlos worked beside him, both men finding rhythm in the repetition. "My oldest wants to play travel soccer," Carlos said during a brief water break. $300 just for registration, plus equipment gas money for games, hotel rooms for tournaments. "That's rough." Ethan sympathized, knowing Carlos had 3 kids to Ethan's 1. "Everything's rough these days, but what do we do, boy?" Tell them no, watch their faces fall. Carlos shook his head. We figure it out, always do. That was the warehouse motto, figure it out. Make it work. Don't think too hard about tomorrow because today had enough problems. During his lunch break, Ethan sat in the break room with his standard peanut butter sandwich and the apple that was slightly bruised but still good. He pulled out his phone to check the school's parent portal. Lily was doing well in reading, needed help with math, and had perfect attendance. Small victories that felt like major accomplishments. Ethan. Joe Martinez settled beside him, the 60-year-old warehouse veteran who'd become something of a father figure. You look tired, son. Always look tired, Ethan replied with a weak smile. More than usual. You taking care of yourself. Taking care of Lily. That's what matters. Joe studied him with eyes that had seen too much life. Can't pour from an empty cup. Cup's not empty, just running low. Pete mentioned overtime available this weekend, Saturday and Sunday time and a half. Ethan's mind immediately went to the calculation 16 hours of overtime could cover Lily's new shoes and still leave enough for a slightly better grocery run. I'll take it. Course you will. Joe's voice held no judgment, only understanding. Just remember that little girl needs a father more than she needs things. She needs both, Ethan said quietly. And I'm all she's got for either. The afternoon shift felt longer, each hour stretching as his body protested the constant motion. By 4 o'clock, his shirt was soaked with sweat, despite the October chill in the warehouse. By 5, he was counting minutes. But 5:30 brought renewed energy because it meant picking up Lily from the after-school program at the community center. She ran to him the moment he appeared in the doorway, her backpack bouncing, face bright with stories to tell. Daddy, we learned about the heart today in science. Did you know it pumps blood everywhere in your body and never stops? Never stops, huh? He lifted her onto his shoulders, ignoring his screaming muscles. That's pretty amazing. Mrs. Patterson says it's the strongest muscle because it works all the time without getting tired. If only that were true for the rest of us, Ethan thought, but said, your teacher's really smart. Their evening routine was sacred homework at the kitchen table while he made dinner spaghetti again. But Lily never complained, dishes done together with Lily, drying what she could reach, then reading time on the couch where she curled against his side like a cat seeking warmth. Daddy, she said, as he closed the library book about a brave mouse, are we poor? The question hit like a physical blow. Why do you ask, sweetheart? Mia said only poor kids go to after-school program. She said kids with money have nannies. Ethan chose his words carefully. We have everything we need, a home, food, clothes, and each other. Some people have more money, some have less. But money doesn't measure how rich a family is. So we're rich in love. The richest, he confirmed, kissing her forehead. After Lily went to bed, Ethan sat at the kitchen table with his laptop, an ancient model that Claire had used for her online classes before she got sick. The bills were spread before him like accusers, rent, electricity, water. The minimum payment on the credit card he'd maxed out during Claire's treatment, the payment plan for her funeral expenses. He moved numbers around in a spreadsheet trying to make them work differently, but mathematics didn't care about hope. They were one emergency away from disaster. A broken car, a sick day without pay, a school field trip that Lily desperately wanted to attend. The computer screen blurred as exhaustion overtook him. He closed his eyes just for a moment and found himself talking to Claire's picture on the wall. I'm trying, baby. God, I'm trying so hard, but it feels like drowning in slow motion. Lily needs things, clothes that fit, shoes without holes, a birthday party with her friends. And I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. The photo, of course, didn't answer, but he could imagine Claire's voice, warm and certain. You're stronger than you think, Ethan Walker, and tomorrow's a new day. Tuesday came with unexpected rain, the kind of cold October downpour that reminded everyone winter was approaching. Ethan's morning had started badly. The hot water heater was acting up again, giving them barely lukewarm showers. Lily had been cranky about wearing her rain boots with the crack in the side, and he'd had to promise to try fixing them with duct tape that evening. Work had been especially brutal. A shipping error meant an entire truck needed to be unloaded and reorganized, and Pete had chosen Ethan's crew for the job. By the time his shift ended at 6, Every muscle screamed and his clothes were soaked through with sweat and rain from the loading dock work. The community center called just as he was boarding the bus. Lily had a slight fever and needed to be picked up early. Panic shot through him. He couldn't afford to miss work tomorrow if she was really sick, but he also couldn't send a sick child to school. He jogged the 6 blocks from the bus stop to the community center, rain pelting his face, work boots splashing through puddles. Lily was waiting in the director's office, looking small and pale. "My tummy hurts," she said in a tiny voice. "Let's get you home, baby." He carried her the 8 blocks to their apartment, her fevered head against his shoulder, rain soaking them both. She weighed so little, felt so fragile in his arms. These were the moments that terrified him most when he faced the possibility of losing her too, of failing the one person who depended on him completely. Once home, he got her into dry pajamas and settled on the couch with children's Tylenol and ginger ale they kept for emergencies. Her fever was 100.2. Not dangerous, but enough to worry him. "Will you tell me a story?" she asked, curled against his side. "What kind of story?" "About Mommy. A happy one." So he told her about the day they'd met Claire, both of them reaching for the last discounted Halloween costume at Target. How Claire had laughed and suggested they share it, taking turns wearing the ridiculous dinosaur outfit to their respective parties. How that shared laugh had turned into coffee, then dinner, then a lifetime that ended too soon. Lily fell asleep during the story, her breathing evening out, fever already breaking thanks to the medicine. Ethan held her, carefully afraid to move and wake her, watching the rain streak down their windows. The news played quietly on their old television stories of corporate mergers and stock prices that might as well have been foreign languages. A commercial promised financial freedom through investments, and Ethan almost laughed. Financial freedom required having finances to begin with. By 8 o'clock, Lily was sleeping soundly in her bed, fever gone, and Ethan faced the kitchen table battlefield of bills again. The overtime this weekend would help, but it meant missing Lily's Saturday morning art class at the community center, one of the few free programs that brought her pure joy. He was so lost in calculations that he almost didn't notice when the news switched to tomorrow's weather forecast. More rain temperatures dropping, winter arriving early. He'd need to find Lily's winter coat in storage, make sure it still fit. Probably didn't. Another expense to figure out. Wednesday arrived with the promised continued rain. Lily's fever had broken completely, and she insisted she felt fine enough for school. Ethan made her favorite breakfast cinnamon toast and packed an extra snack in her lunch in case she got hungry. "Be good for Mrs. Patterson," he said, kissing her forehead at the school entrance. "Always am," she replied with Claire's mischievous grin. The warehouse felt like a tomb in the gray morning light. Everyone moved slower on rainy days, the dampness seeping into bones and joints already abused by years of physical labor. Ethan threw himself into the work, using physical exhaustion to quiet mental anxiety. "You okay, man?" Carlos asked during their break. "You seem off." Lily was sick last night. Fever. Ah, man. Those are the worst nights. Kids spike a fever and you think the world's ending. "Every time," Ethan admitted. "Can't help thinking, what if it's something serious? What if I miss the signs?" Carlos clasped his shoulder. "Brother, we all live with that fear. Single parents especially, but kids are tougher than we think, and you're a good dad. Best I know, actually." The words helped, but the weight remained. Every decision felt momentous when you were the only adult in a child's life. No one to share the worry, debate the choices, or reassure you that you were doing okay. The afternoon dragged endlessly. Pete asked him to train a new employee, a kid barely out of high school who complained about the work within an hour. Ethan bit back sharp words, remembering being young and thinking manual labor was beneath him. Life had a way of adjusting those perspectives. By 5 o'clock, his patience was threadbare and his body was running on fumes. The rain had turned into a proper storm, and he didn't have an umbrella. The bus was late, packed with damp, frustrated commuters. Someone's wet umbrella dripped on his boots for 20 minutes. He finally made it to the community center at 6:15, 15 minutes late. Lily was the last child waiting, sitting with Mrs. Henderson, the evening coordinator, working on homework. "I'm so sorry," Ethan began, but Mrs. Henderson waved him off. No worries, Mr. Walker. Lily's been helping me organize the art supplies. She's got a real eye for color coordination. Daddy? Lily jumped up, seemingly fully recovered. Look what I drew today. She held up a picture of their apartment building, but she'd added flowers in every window and a rainbow overhead. At the bottom, she'd written, "Home is where love lives." It's beautiful, sweetheart. It's for you, to put in your lunchbox so you can remember home when you're at work. His eyes burned with unshed tears. This child, this miraculous little person, somehow understood more about life than most adults. She knew their struggles, but chose to see beauty anyway. The walk home was wet and cold, but Lily chatted the entire way, jumping in puddles despite his half-hearted protests about her shoes. Her joy was infectious, and by the time they reached their building, he was laughing at her impression of her teacher explaining fractions using pizza slices. Mrs. Patterson says if you understand pizza, you understand fractions. Mrs. Patterson is a genius, Ethan agreed, unlocking their door. Dinner was leftover spaghetti reheated in the microwave, but Lily declared it even better the second day. They worked on her math homework together. Ethan grateful it was still simple enough for him to help. He dreaded the day her education surpassed his ability to assist. Daddy, what's 7 times 8? 56. But show me how you figured it out. She walked him through her method, adding 7, 8 times, her little fingers keeping track of the count. Her concentration face was pure Claire tongue, slightly out, eyebrows furrowed. Perfect. You're getting so smart. Smart like mommy. Smart like mommy and kind like her, too. After homework, they had 20 minutes of free time before bed. Lily chose to dance to the radio, making up elaborate routines to pop songs, while Ethan watched from the couch, applauding every spin and jump. You should dance too, Daddy. Daddy doesn't dance, baby. Mommy said you used to dance. She said you were good. That was true. In their early days, he and Claire would dance in this very kitchen, her head on his shoulder, swaying to whatever played on her phone. But that felt like another lifetime, another man who hadn't been carved hollow by loss. Maybe another time. Lily accepted this, returning to her solo performance. But she kept glancing at him, and he recognized Claire's look, the one that said she was planning something, working on wearing down his resistance. Bedtime came with the usual negotiations, one more story, one more glass of water, one more hug. Finally, she settled under her covers. Mr. Bunny, a stuffed rabbit Claire had made while pregnant, clutched to her chest. Daddy? Do you think Mommy can see us? I think she watches over us every day. Good, then she knows we're okay. Yeah, baby, she knows we're okay. But after Lily fell asleep, Ethan sat in the darkness of his room, holding Claire's picture, wondering if okay was enough. Their daughter deserved more than okay. She deserved opportunities, experiences, the chance to pursue dreams beyond their small apartment. He thought about the overtime this weekend. 16 hours of extra work meant missing Lily's art class, but it also meant he could buy her the winter coat she needed, maybe even new boots without cracks. Every choice felt like a sacrifice, trading time for money presents for provision. Outside, the rain continued its assault on the city. Somewhere out there, people were living different lives, ones where choosing between time with your child and earning enough to feed them wasn't a daily calculation. But this was his reality, and he'd face it the same way he faced every day, one foot in front of the other, one moment at a time. Thursday morning, the rain had turned into a steady drizzle. Ethan woke to find Lily already dressed, trying to make breakfast on her own. She'd managed to pour cereal, but had spilled milk across the counter in the process. I wanted to help, she said, looking guilty. You did help. Look, you got the bowls out and everything. We'll clean this up together. They wiped down the counter, Lily chattering about the class pet, a hamster named Professor Whiskers, and how it was almost her turn to take him home for a weekend. Can we take him, Daddy? Please, I promise I'll take care of him. Ethan thought about the pet deposit their building required, the cost of food and bedding, the possibility of the hamster escaping in their small space. But he also thought about the light in Lily's eyes. We'll see when it's your turn. Maybe we can work something out. Her squeal of delight was worth whatever hassle a hamster might bring. Work that day was particularly mindless inventory counting in the vast warehouse aisles. It gave him too much time to think, to worry, to calculate bills in his head. Joe found him during lunch, sitting alone as usual. Heard you're taking the weekend overtime.
News travels fast. Pete asked me first, turned it down. Joe unwrapped his sandwich slowly. Marie's been on me about spending more time with the grandkids. Says money's not everything. Easy to say when you've got two incomes and a paid-off house. Fair point. Joe was quiet for a moment. You know, when my kids were young, I worked every hour God sent. Missed birthdays, ball games, school plays. Thought I was being a good provider. Now my oldest barely calls and my youngest says she doesn't really know me. It's different for you. You had Marie with them. True. But Ethan, that little girl of yours, won't remember the toys you couldn't buy. She'll remember if you were there. The words haunted Ethan through the afternoon shift. Was he making the right choice? Was survival worth the cost of missed moments? But then he thought about Lily's boots with the crack water seeping in with every puddle and knew he'd work the overtime.
He was almost out the door at 5:30 when Pete called him back. Walker got a proposition for you. Ethan's stomach clenched. Propositions from management were rarely good news. What kind of proposition? Distribution centers looking for a shift supervisor. Pays $4 more an hour, better benefits. You interested? Ethan's mind raced. $4 more an hour would change everything. Better apartment, reliable car, maybe even some savings. What's the catch? Night shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., and it's at the Northside facility. The hope deflated. Night shift meant never seeing Lily except on weekends. Northside was an hour commute each way. It would solve their money problems, but destroy what little time they had together. I need to think about it. Fair enough. Let me know by Monday. The bus ride to the community center felt longer than usual. Rain streaked the windows, and Ethan watched the city pass by abandoned buildings, check cashing stores, pawn shops. This was their world, a far cry from the north side with its gleaming distribution center and suburban promise. Lily was painting when he arrived, her hands covered in purple and blue, creating what looked like a storm over an ocean. That's beautiful, baby. Is it the rain? It's the sky crying, she said matter-of-factly. But see, there's sun behind the clouds. It's just hiding. Sometimes his daughter's perception stunned him. 8 years old and already understanding that light existed even when you couldn't see it. That evening, while Lily did homework, Ethan researched the Northside position on his ancient laptop. The pay was indeed better enough to actually save money plan for college, maybe even take a vacation. But the comments from current employees were telling, never see my kids, divorced after a year of nights. Good money if you don't mind having no life. Daddy, you're doing the worry face again, Lily observed from across the table. Sorry, sweetheart. Just thinking about work stuff. Is it bad stuff? Not bad. Just complicated. She nodded sagely. Like when I have to choose between art and music class. I want both, but can only pick one. Exactly like that. Mrs. Patterson says when you have a hard choice, follow your heart. What does your heart say? His heart said he'd rather be poor with his daughter than financially comfortable without her. But his head reminded him that poverty wasn't noble, that Lily deserved better than hand-me-downs and food bank groceries. My heart says it needs more time to decide. Friday came with unexpected sunshine, the first in a week. Ethan took it as a sign of what he wasn't sure, but it felt like the universe offering a brief reprieve. Lily practically skipped to school, jumping over the puddles that remained from the week's rain. It's Friday. Friday, best day of the week. She sang a made-up tune that made other parents smile as they passed. Work was lighter, too, a shipment delayed, meaning less to unload. Pete was in a good mood buying coffee for the morning crew. Even the usually surly Marcus cracked jokes during break. Hey, Walker, Marcus called out. You still drive that piece of shit Honda? Still runs, Ethan replied defensively. My brother's selling his Toyota, 2,000 runs good. Interested. 2,000 might as well have been 2 million, but Ethan appreciated the thought. Maybe after Christmas. It'll probably be gone, but I'll keep an ear out for others. These small kindnesses between struggling people meant everything. They looked out for each other in ways that didn't make the news, but made life bearable. That afternoon, fate intervened in the form of an early release. A power issue in part of the warehouse meant sending the afternoon shift home at 3 with full pay. Ethan couldn't remember the last time something unexpectedly good had happened. He decided to surprise Lily, picking her up from school instead of letting her go to after-school program. The joy on her face when she saw him waiting was worth 1,000 overtime hours. "Daddy, why are you here?" "Got off early, thought we could do something special." "Like what?" "What would you like to do?" She thought seriously. "Can we go to the park? The one with the good swings." The park was free, the weather was perfect, and Ethan had nowhere else to be. "Let's go." They spent 2 hours at the park, Ethan pushing Lily on the swings until his arms ached, then sitting together on a bench eating ice cream from the truck that played its tinny melody through the neighborhood. It cost $5 he shouldn't have spent, but Lily's chocolate-covered smile was worth it. "This is the best day," she declared, ice cream dripping on her school uniform. "Why's that?" "Because you're here and it's sunny and I have ice cream and we're together. That's all it takes for a best day." "That's everything, Daddy." Walking home hand in hand, Lily chattering about everything and nothing, Ethan made his decision about the night shift. Money mattered, but moments mattered more. They'd figure out the finances somehow. They always did. That evening, as Ethan prepared dinner, fish sticks and mac and cheese, Lily's favorite combination, his phone rang. Unknown number, probably a debt collector. He let it go to voicemail, but it rang again immediately. Then again. "Hello?" he answered, irritated. "Mr. Walker. This is St. Mary's Hospital. You're listed as emergency contact for Joseph Martinez." Ethan's blood went cold. "Is Joe okay?" "He's had a heart attack. He's stable but asking for you." "I'll be right there." He hung up, mind racing. Mrs. Rodriguez next door could watch. Lily had done it before during emergencies. But Lily had plans tonight, movie night, their Friday tradition. "Baby, I need to go to the hospital. Mr. Joe is sick." Lily's face fell, then immediately shifted to concern. "Is he going to be okay?" "I hope so. Mrs. Rodriguez will come over. I want to come with you." "Hospitals aren't fun places for kids." "Please, Daddy. Mr. Joe is nice. He gave me that candy last time." Against his better judgment, Ethan agreed. Maybe because he didn't want to be alone, maybe because Lily had already lost so much that protecting her from harsh realities seemed pointless. The hospital smelled of disinfectant and despair. Lily held his hand tightly as they navigated the corridors, her eyes wide at the controlled chaos of the emergency department. They found Joe in a curtained area hooked to monitors, looking smaller than Ethan had ever seen him. "You came," Joe wheezed. "Of course I came. Brought the little one, too." Lily approached the bed carefully. "Hi, Mr. Joe. Does your heart hurt?" Joe smiled weakly. "Not anymore, sweetheart. Good medicine here." While Lily drew pictures in the notebook she always carried, Ethan and Joe talked quietly. "No family?" Ethan asked. "Marie's on her way, flying in from Phoenix where she was visiting our daughter." "What happened?" "Was walking to my car after shift. Chest started hurting something fierce. Next thing I know, I'm on the ground and some lady's doing CPR. Thank God someone knew what to do. Rich lady too from the looks of her. Fancy clothes, expensive shoes. Stayed with me until the ambulance came, then disappeared. Didn't even get her name." They sat in comfortable silence, the monitors beeping steadily. Joe would be okay, the doctors had said so, but it was a reminder of how fragile everything was, how quickly life could change. "Ethan," Joe said suddenly, "don't take that night shift." "How did you Pete told me. Don't do it. That little girl needs you more than she needs money." "But no buts. I worked nights for 5 years when my kids were young. Know what it got me? Money in the bank and children who called me by my first name because I was a stranger." Before Ethan could respond, a commotion in the hallway drew their attention. Through the gap in the curtain, he could see EMTs wheeling someone in voices urgent and professional. 42-year-old female cardiac arrest down approximately 2 minutes, bystander CPR initiated. The glimpse he caught was of an elegantly dressed woman unconscious being rushed past. Something about the scene nagged at him, but Joe was talking again, and the moment passed. They stayed another hour until Marie arrived, a whirlwind of concern and efficiency. She hugged Ethan, thanked him for coming, and immediately began reorganizing Joe's space with the confidence of someone who'd been married 40 years. "You go home," she told Ethan. "That little one needs dinner and bed." Walking out of the hospital, Lily's hand in his, Ethan felt the weight of the week settling on his shoulders, but also something else, a kind of clarity. Joe's heart attack, the night shift offer, Lily's simple joy at the park, it all pointed to the same truth. Time was the only real currency. Everything else was just numbers on paper. "Daddy," Lily said as they waited for the bus, "is Mr. Joe going to be okay?" "I think so, baby." "Good. He's like a grandpa." "Yeah, he is. We should make him a card with hearts on it because his heart needs to know we love him." "That's a perfect idea." The bus arrived nearly empty at this hour. They found seats in the back, Lily curled against his side, exhausted from the long day and hospital visit. Outside, the city lights blurred past, and Ethan thought about the woman they'd brought in, hoping she had someone to sit by her bedside, someone to care whether she lived or died. Saturday morning came too early. The alarm set for overtime that suddenly felt less critical after yesterday's hospital visit. But Ethan dragged himself up, left a note for Lily with Mrs. Rodriguez's number, and headed to work. The warehouse was different on weekends. Skeleton crew relaxed pace radios playing louder than Pete would normally allow. Ethan threw himself into the physical work, using it to avoid thinking about Joe in his hospital bed or the night shift offer still waiting for an answer. During break, he called the hospital. Joe was doing better, might go home Monday. The relief was physical, loosening a knot in his chest he hadn't realized was there. "Walker," someone called from across the break room. "You hear about that thing downtown yesterday?" "What thing?" "Some rich lady had a heart attack right on Fifth Avenue, middle of rush hour. Some guy saved her life, did CPR until the ambulance came." "Good for him," Ethan said, not really interested. "Get this, though, turns out she's Helena Blackwood. You know Blackwood Industries worth like $1 billion. Bet that guy's getting a hell of a reward." The name meant nothing to Ethan. Rich people lived in a different universe, one that occasionally intersected with his world, but never in meaningful ways. He went back to work, forgetting the conversation within minutes. The overtime shift felt endless. His body, already exhausted from the week, protested every movement. But he thought about Lily's winter coat, new boots, maybe even something special for Christmas, and pushed through. By the time he got home at 8 that evening, Lily had spent the day with Mrs. Rodriguez baking cookies and watching cartoons. She ran to him, flowers still in her hair, chattering about her day. "We made snickerdoodles and sugar cookies, and Mrs. Rodriguez taught me Spanish words." "That's wonderful, baby. Did you save me any cookies?" "Of course, the best ones." They spent the evening on the couch, eating cookies and watching a movie Lily had seen a dozen times but still loved. She fell asleep against his shoulder halfway through, and Ethan carried her to bed, marveling at how she was getting heavier, growing despite their circumstances. In her room, he noticed new drawings on her wall, their family, but now with 3 figures instead of 2. The third was labeled "Mommy as an Angel," complete with wings and a halo. "She watches us," Lily had written at the bottom, "and keeps us safe." Sunday meant church for most of their neighbors, but for Ethan and Lily, it meant laundry day. The apartment building's basement laundry room was a dungeon of flickering fluorescent lights and machines that ate quarters like hungry monsters. Ethan hauled 2 weeks' worth of clothes down 3 flights, while Lily carried the detergent, taking her responsibility seriously. "Mrs. Chen is here," Lily whispered, spotting their elderly neighbor sorting whites from colors with mechanical precision. Mrs. Chen had lived in the building for 30 years, raised 4 children in a 2-bedroom apartment, and now lived alone, her children scattered across the country chasing better lives. "Morning, Mrs. Chen," Ethan said, setting down his baskets. She looked up, eyes sharp behind thick glasses. "That child needs warmer clothes. Winter's coming early this year." "We're working on it." Mrs. Chen made a dismissive sound, the universal expression of older women who'd heard too many excuses from struggling parents. She reached into her basket and pulled out a thick purple sweater, handmade from the look of it. "My granddaughter outgrew this. Lily's size now." Before Ethan could protest, she'd pressed it into Lily's hands. The girl's eyes went wide, fingers touching the soft wool reverently. "It's beautiful," Lily breathed. "Purple's my favorite." "I know," Mrs. Chen said, simply returning to her laundry. These acts of kindness between poor people always humbled Ethan. Mrs. Chen lived on Social Security, counted every penny. Yet here she was making sure Lily stayed warm. He tried to thank her, but she waved him off, muttering in Mandarin as she fed quarters into the machine. While the clothes washed, Ethan and Lily sat on the cracked plastic chairs playing 20 questions. It was free entertainment requiring nothing but imagination. Is it bigger than a bread box? Lily asked. Yes. Is it alive? No. Is it in our apartment? No. She scrunched her face in concentration, looking so much like Claire that Ethan's chest ached. Claire had loved these word games, could play for hours, making even waiting rooms and long commutes fun. Is it something we see every day? Sometimes. The bus? Good guess, but no. They went back and forth until the washer buzzed. As Ethan transferred clothes to the dryer, another $1.50 in quarters, Lily suddenly said, "It's the moon." How did you figure that out? You said sometimes we see it, and last night you were looking at it out the window for a long time. He had been. Standing at their small window after Lily went to bed, staring at the full moon and wondering if Claire could see it wherever she was, wondering if she was proud of how he was managing or disappointed in his failures. You're very observant, he told Lily. Mrs. Patterson says that too. She says I notice things other people miss. The dryer would take an hour. They climbed back to their apartment to wait Lily wearing her new purple sweater despite the relatively warm morning. She modeled it in their small mirror, twirling like a fashion show participant. I'm going to wear this tomorrow to school. Mia will be so jealous. We don't want to make others jealous, baby. Not mean jealous, good jealous. Like when someone has something nice and you're happy for them, but also wish you had it too. The distinction was surprisingly sophisticated for an 8-year-old. But then Lily had been forced to grow up faster than her peers, understanding concepts like loss and want and gratitude in ways other children didn't. While waiting for the laundry, they tackled the apartment together. Lily dusted the surfaces she could reach while Ethan vacuumed with their ancient machine that sounded like a dying animal, but still somehow worked. They made it a game racing to see who could finish their section first. I win, Lily declared, having dusted the 3 pieces of furniture in her room in record time. You're the champion. Ethan agreed, even though he deliberately slowed down to let her win. They returned to the basement to find their dryer had stopped mid-cycle. The clothes were still damp, and the machine refused to accept more quarters. Damn it, Ethan muttered, then caught himself. I mean, darn it. It's okay, Daddy. We can hang them in the apartment like Mrs. Rodriguez does. So they hauled the damp clothes back upstairs and strung them across their living room on the makeshift clothesline Ethan rigged between 2 walls. The apartment looked like a textile factory, but Lily thought it was fun running between the hanging sheets like they were fort walls. This is better than the dryer, she declared. It's like camping inside. Her ability to find joy in inconvenience was a gift one Ethan wished he could bottle and sell. They'd be millionaires if optimism had market value. Lunch was grilled cheese and tomato soup, the bread slightly stale, but toasted enough to hide it. They ate at their small table, Lily's homework spread to one side, Ethan's bills to the other. The parallel worried him. Was she already learning that life was about juggling responsibilities, that even meals came with multitasking? Daddy, what's bankruptcy? Lily asked suddenly, pointing to a word in her social studies homework about economics. It's when someone or a business owes more money than they have, so they have to legally declare they can't pay it all back. Like when Jeremy couldn't pay back the lunch money he borrowed. Similar, but for adults and with bigger amounts. Have we ever been bankrupt? The question was innocent but felt loaded. No, baby. We've been careful with our money. Good. Bankrupt sounds scary. It was scary. Ethan had considered it during Claire's illness when the medical bills mounted faster than he could work. But bankruptcy meant potentially losing what little they had, meant a mark on his record that would follow them for years. So he'd negotiated payment plans, taken every shift available, sold everything valuable they owned, except Claire's wedding ring, which he'd hidden away for Lily someday. Homework's too serious for Sundays, he declared. Want to go to the library? The public library was 6 blocks away. A beautiful old building that had somehow survived budget cuts and urban development. It was free entertainment, free air conditioning in summer, and heat in winter, free access to worlds beyond their small apartment.
Lily practically ran the entire way, eager to return the books she'd devoured this week and find new adventures. The children's section was her domain, and she navigated it like a tiny librarian, knowing exactly where her favorite series lived. 5 books. Ethan reminded her the library's limit. She chose carefully, weighing each option like a judge. 2 about animals, 1 mystery, 1 about a girl inventor, and 1 about families around the world. The last one she held up to show him. Look, Daddy, this family only has a mom and 1 kid like us, but opposite. That's interesting. And this one has 2 dads. And this one has grandparents raising the kids. Families are all different. They are. What matters is love, Lily finished. I know. Love makes a family. While Lily read in the children's section, Ethan used the library's computer to check his email and browse job listings. The same positions were always there: warehouse, work night, security, cleaning services. Nothing that paid enough to actually change their situation, just lateral moves from one struggle to another. An ad caught his eye. Blackwood Industries seeking facilities coordinator, competitive salary, full benefits, advancement opportunities. He almost laughed. Might as well apply to be an astronaut. The job required experience he didn't have, probably education he couldn't afford. Still, he found himself reading the full description, imagining what competitive salary meant to people who already had money. Daddy, look. Lily appeared at his elbow holding a flyer. Story time with a real author next Saturday. Can we come? He checked the date. It conflicted with his overtime shift. But looking at Lily's hopeful face, he heard Joe's words about missing moments you couldn't get back. We'll make it work. Her smile was worth whatever juggling he'd have to do with the schedule. Walking home, each carrying books, they passed through the better part of town. The houses here had yards, fresh paint windows that weren't reinforced with bars. A man was teaching his son to ride a bike on the sidewalk, running alongside with patient encouragement. That looks fun, Lily said wistfully. You know how to ride a bike. I mean, having a place to practice and a bike that fits. Her bike, bought secondhand 2 years ago, was now too small. Her knees hit the handlebars when she pedaled. Another thing for the list of needs he couldn't meet. Maybe for Christmas, he said, knowing it was unlikely. It's okay, Daddy. Walking is good exercise. Mrs. Patterson says so. That evening, after dinner and bath time, they had their Sunday tradition calling Grandma Ellen Claire's mother, who lived in Florida. The relationship was complicated. Ellen had wanted custody of Lily after Claire died, convinced Ethan couldn't manage alone. The legal battle had been brief but bitter, ending with Ellen getting monthly video calls and 2 weeks in summer. Hi, Mom, Lily said brightly to the tablet screen, Ethan's one technological splurge that allowed these calls. Hello, sweetheart. You look taller. Ethan, are you feeding her enough? The passive aggression was normal. Ethan had learned to ignore it. I'm eating lots, Lily said. Daddy makes the best spaghetti. Spaghetti again. You need vegetables, proper nutrition. We eat vegetables too, Lily defended. Daddy makes sure. They talked for 20 minutes, Ellen asking about school grades, whether Lily needed anything. The subtext was always there. She could provide better, would provide better if only Ethan would admit defeat. I could send money for winter clothes, Ellen offered, as she did every call. We're managing fine, Ethan said, as he always did. Pride doesn't keep a child warm, Ethan. Neither does guilt, Ellen. After the call ended, Lily was quiet. These conversations always unsettled her, the tension between the adults she loved obvious even to an 8-year-old. Grandma Ellen means well, Ethan said carefully. I know, she just misses Mommy. We all miss Mommy. But we have each other. Grandma Ellen is all alone. The empathy in his daughter's voice was humbling. Even for someone who caused them stress, Lily found compassion. Monday arrived like a slap, the alarm harsh after a restless night. Ethan had dreamed about Claire again, one of those vivid dreams where she was healthy, laughing, planning Lily's birthday party. Waking up to reality was like losing her all over again. Daddy, we're out of milk, Lily announced, staring into the refrigerator. We'll get some tonight. Can I have toast with jelly? Of course. He made her breakfast while she dressed, both of them moving through their morning routine with Monday sluggishness.
The purple sweater from Mrs. Chen was Lily's outfit centerpiece paired with jeans that were getting too short but would have to last until payday. "You look beautiful," he told her. "Purple's definitely my color," she said with 8-year-old confidence. Walking to school, they passed the usual morning obstacles. The homeless veteran who always wished them good morning. The corner where drug deals happened after dark, but was safe during school hours, the abandoned lot where someone had dumped a couch that was slowly decomposing. "Why don't they clean that up?" Lily asked about the couch. "Costs money to remove things. The city has other priorities." "Like what?" "Things in neighborhoods where people vote and pay more taxes." "That's not fair." "No, it's not." At school, Mrs. Patterson was waiting at the door greeting each student. She smiled when she saw Lily's sweater. "What a beautiful color purple suits you." Mrs. Chen made it for her granddaughter, but gave it to me. How kind of her. "Good morning, Mr. Walker." "Morning. Hey, about the field trip permission slip." "The museum trip is fully funded by a grant, no cost to families." Relief flooded through him. He'd been trying to figure out how to scrape together the $20. "Thank you." "Thank the PTA president. She wrote the grant specifically so all kids could participate." These invisible kindnesses, people working behind the scenes to ensure kids like Lily didn't miss out, were what kept the world turning. Work was particularly grueling that Monday. A truck had arrived late Friday and sat all weekend, meaning Monday's crew had to handle 3 days of backed-up orders. Pete was stressed, barking orders the usual patience worn thin. "Walker needs you on the loading dock. Marcus called in sick." Ethan bit back a groan. Loading dock in cold weather meant his back would scream all week, but he grabbed his gloves and headed out. The morning flew by in a blur of lifting, carrying, and stacking. His colleague Tommy worked beside him, both men finding rhythm in the repetition despite the cold that made their fingers stiff. "Heard about Joe?" Tommy asked during a water break. "Yeah, visited him Friday. Seems stable." "Scary shit, man. 1 minute you're fine, next you're on the ground." "He's tough. He'll be okay." "We're all tough until we're not." The fatalism was typical warehouse philosophy. Life was hard, then you died, so find what joy you could in between. Lunch brought news that made everyone nervous. Pete gathered the crew in the break room, his face grim. Corporate's doing an efficiency review. Means they're looking at staffing levels, seeing where they can cut costs. "Layoffs?" someone asked. "Don't know yet. Just keep your heads down, do good work, don't give them reasons." The room buzzed with anxiety. Most of these men live paycheck to paycheck like Ethan. A layoff wouldn't mean inconvenience, it would mean catastrophe. "Seniority system still in place?" Joe's friend Carlos asked. "Supposedly. But you know how corporate works. Rules change when money's involved." Ethan calculated quickly. 18 months made him middle pack, not first to go, but not safe either. The afternoon shift felt different. Everyone working harder, trying to prove their worth to invisible judges who would decide their fates from air-conditioned offices. "This is bullshit," Tommy muttered, hauling boxes with increased intensity. "Record profits last quarter. CEO got $1 million bonus, and they're looking to cut our jobs." "Welcome to America," someone replied. The gallows humor continued all afternoon, workers joking about their dispensability because the alternative was admitting their terror. Ethan stayed quiet, focused on the work. He couldn't afford to lose this job. Not with winter coming, not with Lily needing everything. By clockout time, the mood was funeral. Men who usually chatted in the parking lot headed straight to their cars, eager to escape the cloud of uncertainty. Ethan caught the bus standing room, only surrounded by other tired faces, heading home from their own struggles. The community center called as he walked from the bus stop. Lily had a slight headache, probably nothing but they wanted him to know. He found her in the quiet room, lying on a beanbag with a cool cloth on her forehead. "Hey, baby, head hurt?" "A little. Mrs. Henderson says it's probably because I didn't drink enough water." "Let's get you home and hydrated." She walked slowly, lacking her usual energy. Ethan carried her backpack, watching for signs of something more serious, but she perked up when they passed the corner store with its window display of Halloween decorations. "Halloween's in 3 weeks, she said suddenly, as if just remembering. "It is. Can I be a scientist with a lab coat and goggles and everything? We'll see what we can put together." He was already mentally inventorying what they had.
An old white shirt of his could be a lab coat, swim goggles from the dollar store could work, create some kind of badge. DIY costumes were an art form in their neighborhood. At home, he set Lily up on the couch with water and crackers while he started dinner. The mail had brought the usual collection of bills and advertisements for things they couldn't afford, but also something unexpected, a handwritten envelope addressed to him personally, no return address. Inside was a brief note. Mr. Walker, you don't know me, but you saved my life. I'm trying to find you to say thank you properly. If this reaches you, please call. A phone number was listed below, signed HB. Ethan stared at the note confused. Saved someone's life when... How he would remember something like that. Daddy, what's that? Lily asked from the couch. I'm not sure. Someone sent a thank you note, but I think they have the wrong person. Maybe it's about when you helped Mrs. Garcia with her groceries when she fell. Maybe. But Mrs. Garcia lived in their building. She wouldn't need to track down his address. He set the note aside, focusing on dinner. Probably a scam of some kind, though he couldn't figure out the angle. That evening, while Lily did homework, his phone rang. Unknown number, but local area code. Hello! Mr. Walker. Mr. Ethan Walker. The voice was female professional, slightly nervous. Yes. My name is Helena Blackwood. I believe you received my note. The name tickled something in his memory. Blackwood. Where had he heard that, I think you have the wrong person, ma'am. I haven't saved anyone's life. Last Tuesday evening, downtown near 5th and Morrison, a woman collapsed on the sidewalk. The memory clicked into place. The woman in expensive clothes who'd fallen clutching her chest. He'd done CPR until the paramedics arrived, then slipped away once they had her. That was you. That was me. Mr. Walker, you saved my life. The doctor said without immediate CPR I wouldn't have survived. I just did what anyone would do. But everyone didn't. People walked past. You stopped. There was emotion in her voice now, breaking through the professional composure. I'm glad you're okay, Ethan said, uncomfortable with the gratitude. Really, you don't need to thank me. I do need to. Mr. Walker, could we meet just for coffee or lunch? I want to thank you properly. That's really not necessary. Please, it's important to me. He thought about the efficiency review at work, Lily needing winter clothes, the perpetual struggle to stay afloat. He didn't have time for coffee with strangers, even grateful ones. I work during the week, and weekends are for my daughter. Your daughter? How old? 8. Bring her. Saturday lunch. I know a place with excellent mac and cheese. Lily, who'd been pretending not to eavesdrop, perked up at the mention of mac and cheese. I really can't... Mr. Walker, Ethan, you gave me my life back. The least you can do is let me buy you lunch. The combination of persistence and genuine emotion wore him down. Plus, Lily was now making hopeful faces at him. Okay, Saturday lunch, but somewhere casual, we don't do fancy. Perfect. Can I text you the details? After he hung up, Lily pounced. Who was that? Where are we going? Is the mac and cheese really excellent? Someone I helped wants to say thank you, and we'll see about the mac and cheese. He Googled Helena Blackwood that night after Lily went to bed. The results made him sit back stunned. CEO of Blackwood Industries' net worth in the billions, regular on Forbes, lists philanthropist art collector. The images showed a elegant woman in her 50s, always perfectly composed, photographed at galas and board meetings. This was who he'd saved. This was who wanted to buy them lunch. The week suddenly felt surreal. He'd performed CPR on one of the richest women in America and had no idea. She'd been just another person in distress, someone who needed help. The expensive clothes should have been a clue, but in the moment, all he'd seen was a human being dying on a sidewalk. He thought about canceling the lunch. What would they possibly have to talk about? Their lives were so different they might as well be different species. But Lily had already planned her outfit, the purple sweater, of course, and talked about it nonstop. Tuesday brought more efficiency, review anxiety at work. Supervisors with clipboards, timing tasks, watching everything, making notes.
The warehouse felt like a prison under surveillance. "They're definitely cutting people," Tommy said during break. "Question is how many?" 20% is the rumor, Dutch, Carlos added. 1 in 5 of us gone by Christmas. Ethan did the math. With 40 workers on their shift, that meant 8 jobs lost, 8 families thrown into chaos. The thought made him physically sick. "Walker," Pete called. "Office, now!" The walk to Pete's office felt like heading to execution. Was he being cut already? Had they decided he was expendable? "Sit," Pete said, closing the door. "If this is about the efficiency review." "It's not. Well, not directly." Pete sat heavily behind his desk. "I'm going to be straight with you. You're on the bubble. Not first to go, but not safe either." "Pete, let me finish. You're a good worker, reliable, never complain, help others, but you don't stand out. No special skills, no certifications, nothing that makes you irreplaceable. What do you want me to do?" "Forklift certification. Company pays for the training, and certified operators are harder to replace. Class starts Monday nights, runs 6 weeks. Monday nights meant less time with Lily, more exhaustion, more juggling. But it also meant job security, maybe even a small raise. I'll do it." "Good man. I'll get you enrolled." Walking back to his station, Ethan felt the weight of another obligation settling on his shoulders. 6 weeks of classes after 8-hour shifts, getting home after Lily's bedtime, weekend homework. But what choice did he have? That evening, he broke the news to Lily over dinner. "It's only 6 weeks," he explained, "and it means my job will be safer. Will Mrs. Rodriguez watch me on Monday nights?" "Yes." She was quiet, processing. "Will you still help with homework?" "Every other night and weekends." "Okay, if it keeps you from getting fired, it's important." The matter-of-fact acceptance broke his heart. 8 years old and already understanding job insecurity, already making sacrifices for economic survival. "I'm not getting fired, baby. This is just insurance. Like health insurance. Kind of. Job insurance. We need all the insurance we can get," she said, sounding like a tiny adult. Wednesday was early release day at school, so Ethan arranged to leave work early, taking the pay hit to spend the afternoon with Lily. They went to the park, despite the chilly weather, Lily determined to master the monkey bars she'd been struggling with. "You can do it," Ethan encouraged, standing ready to catch her if she fell. She made it halfway before her hands gave out, dropping safely to the rubberized surface below. "I'll never get it," she said, frustrated. "You got further than last time. Progress, not perfection." "Mommy used to say that." "She was smart." "You're smart too, Daddy. Not school smart. Not like Mommy." "There's different kinds of smart. Mrs. Patterson says some people are book smart, some are people smart. Some are fixing things smart. You're all kinds except book smart." The assessment was probably accurate. Ethan had never been good at formal education, dropping out of high school to work when his dad got sick. Claire had been the one with college dreams, taking night classes until she got pregnant with Lily. Then online classes until she got sick, always learning, always reaching for more. "Daddy watching," Lily tried the monkey bars again. Determination etched on her small face. This time she made it further 6 bars instead of 4 before dropping. "See? Progress." They stayed until the sun started setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Other families began arriving, the after-work crowd, parents fresh from offices, looking at phones while their kids played. One father, in an expensive suit, sat on a bench taking a conference call while his son repeatedly asked him to push the swing. "That's sad," Lily observed. "What is? That Daddy's not playing. He's just working. Maybe he has an important job. More important than his kid." The question hung in the air. Ethan thought about his own father, always working, always tired, dying at 55 without ever taking a vacation. He thought about the overtime he worked, the Saturday shifts, the time traded for money that was never quite enough. "No," he said finally. "Nothing's more important than family." Thursday flew by in a blur of warehouse routine and efficiency review stress. 2 workers from the night shift had already been let go, redundancies, corporate called them, as if human beings were just excess inventory. Joe returned to work that day looking pale but determined. Everyone treated him like glass, trying to help, but he waved them off. "I'm not dead yet," he grumbled. Doctor says light duty for 2 weeks, then back to normal. You should have taken more time, Ethan said. Can't afford it. Short-term disability pays 60%. You try living on 60%. It was a familiar problem. Even when help was available, it was never enough to actually help. Just enough to keep you from drowning, but not enough to swim to shore. That evening, Lily had a school presentation about families. Each child had to share something special about their family heritage. Some kids brought elaborate poster boards, family trees going back generations. One child had a PowerPoint presentation his parents clearly made. Lily had a photo of Claire and a story about how her mother had volunteered at the animal shelter every Saturday, even when she was sick. My mom believed in helping, Lily said, to her class voice clear and strong. She said we should leave the world better than we found it. She's gone now, but my dad and I try to follow her example. We don't have a lot, but we share what we have. That's our family heritage helping. Mrs. Patterson had tears in her eyes. Several parents applauded. Ethan stood in the back, throat tight with pride and grief. After the presentation, another parent approached him, a woman in medical scrubs he recognized from pickup. Your daughter is remarkable, she said. Thank you. She gets it from her mother. And her father. I see you here every day, never missing anything important. That matters more than you know. The praise felt unearned. He missed plenty, couldn't volunteer for field trips, couldn't host playdates in their cramped apartment, couldn't provide the enrichment activities other kids had. But he was present. Maybe that counted for something. Friday morning brought news that 3 more warehouse workers would be let go next week. The anxiety was palpable. Men working in grim silence, afraid talking would mark them as expendable. Pete looked miserable, forced to evaluate people he'd worked with for years, deciding who would lose their livelihoods. It's not personal, he told them during morning meeting. Corporate's making these decisions based on numbers. Our lives aren't numbers, someone called out. I know, believe me, I know. Ethan worked harder than ever, volunteering for extra tasks, helping slower workers, anything to prove his worth. But he knew it might not matter. When corporations decided to cut costs, loyalty and hard work meant nothing against spreadsheet calculations. During lunch, he sat with Joe, who was eating carefully following his new heart-healthy diet. This efficiency review is bullshit, Joe said quietly. They made record profits last year. Profits are never enough. They always want more. You worried but terrified. But what can I do except keep working? That's all any of us can do. Joe paused. That night shift position still open. Don't know. Why? Might be worth considering. If they're cutting day shift but still hiring nights, that tells you something. It tells me I'd never see Lily. Better than not being able to feed her. The harsh truth sat between them. Sometimes parenting meant choosing between bad options, picking the one that hurt least. That afternoon, Pete pulled Ethan aside again. Forklift class starts Monday, 6 to 9 p.m. Here's the schedule. Ethan looked at the paper. 6 weeks, twice weekly sessions, Monday and Wednesday, certification test at the end. Actually, there's a problem. Can only fund 1 student from our shift. It's between you and Tommy. Tommy's got seniority. Tommy's also got 2 DUIs on his record. Can't operate machinery with that history. You're clean. So I'm in. You're in. Don't waste this chance. Friday evening was movie night, their tradition of microwave popcorn and whatever DVD they could borrow from the library. Tonight was an old Disney film one Claire had loved. Lily curled against his side, occasionally feeding him popcorn, completely absorbed in the story. Daddy, she said during a quiet moment, are you worried about something? What makes you think that you keep sighing and your shoulders are all tight? He consciously relaxed, amazed at her perception. Just work stuff, nothing for you to worry about. If you lose your job, will we be okay? The question hit like ice water. Why would you think that? Marcus said his dad got fired from the warehouse, and Jenny's mom. People are losing jobs. I'm not losing mine. And even if something happened, we'd figure it out. We always do. Together. Always together. She seemed satisfied, returning her attention to the movie. But Ethan couldn't focus mind spinning through scenarios. If he lost this job, unemployment would barely cover rent. They'd lose health insurance. Food stamps would help, but not enough.
The credit cards were maxed, savings non-existent. They were balanced on a knife's edge, and one push would send them falling.
Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzly, matching Ethan's mood about the lunch with Helena Blackwood. He'd researched her more during the week, finding articles about her business empire, her philanthropic work, her reputation as a brilliant but ruthless negotiator. What could they possibly have to talk about? Lily, however, was excited. She'd chosen her outfit carefully, the purple sweater, her best jean shoes polished with careful attention. "Do I look okay?" she asked, spinning for inspection. "You look perfect. Not too casual. She's really rich, right? We're not trying to impress her baby, just having lunch. But I want to make a good impression. You saved her life. She should know you have a good daughter. She'll know that the minute she meets you." The restaurant Helena had chosen sat between two worlds, not fancy enough to require reservations months in advance, but far nicer than anywhere Ethan would normally take Lily. It was called The Garden Table, with large windows overlooking a small courtyard and a menu posted outside that didn't show prices, always a bad sign for people who needed to count every dollar. "It's pretty," Lily said, pressing her nose against the window. "Yeah, it is. Are you nervous, Daddy?" "A little." "Don't be. You saved her life. She should be nervous to meet you." The child's logic was flawless, but didn't account for the gulf between their worlds. Ethan straightened his only good shirt, the one he'd worn to Claire's funeral and job interviews, and opened the door. The hostess smiled warmly. "Mr. Walker, Ms. Blackwood is already here. Right this way." They were led through the restaurant to a corner table where Helena Blackwood sat studying her phone. She looked up as they approached, and Ethan was struck by how different she appeared from that night on the sidewalk. Healthy color in her cheeks, designer clothes that probably cost more than his monthly rent, an aura of controlled power. But when she saw them, her entire demeanor shifted. She stood quickly, almost knocking over her water glass, and for a moment looked as nervous as Ethan felt. "Mr. Walker." "Ethan, thank you so much for coming. This is my daughter Lily." Helena's attention turned to the child, and her smile became genuine rather than professional. "Hello, Lily. Your father told me you're 8 3/4, Lily corrected. "Are you the lady whose heart stopped?" "Lily." Ethan started, but Helena laughed. "I am indeed. Your father made it start again." "He's good at fixing things," Lily said matter-of-factly, sliding into the booth. They sat the contrast between them, stark Helena in her designer outfit, Ethan in his funeral shirt, Lily in her borrowed sweater. The waiter appeared immediately, which never happened in restaurants Ethan frequented. "Can I bring you something to drink?" "What would you like, Lily?" Helena asked. "Chocolate milk." Lily looked at Ethan for permission. "That's fine." "Coffee for me," Ethan said, then caught the prices on the drink menu. $8 for coffee. He tried not to visibly react. "I'll have the same," Helena said. "And could we get an appetizer, the cheese plate?" After the waiter left, an awkward silence settled. Helena seemed to be struggling for words, this woman who probably commanded boardrooms and negotiated million-dollar deals tongue-tied in front of a warehouse worker and his daughter. "I researched you," she finally said. "I hope that's not too invasive. I needed to know who saved me." "Not much to find," Ethan said. "I found enough. Single father warehouse worker wife passed 2 years ago. I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you." Lily, unburdened by adult awkwardness, piped up. "Daddy doesn't like talking about Mommy with strangers. It makes him sad." "Lily." "It's okay, Helena said. "I understand. I lost my husband 15 years ago. The sadness never fully goes away, does it?" "No," Ethan admitted. "It doesn't." The drinks arrived with the cheese plate, an artistic arrangement that looked too pretty to eat. Lily's eyes went wide. "This is fancy cheese," she whispered. "Try some," Helena encouraged. "The one with herbs is particularly good." They ate, Lily chattering about school, her art project, the hamster she hoped to pet sit. Helena listened with apparent genuine interest, asking follow-up questions, laughing at Lily's jokes. Slowly, Ethan felt himself relaxing. "What do you do?"
Lily asked Helena. Daddy says you're important. I run a company. We make parts for other companies, boring stuff, really. Daddy works at a warehouse. Is that like your company? Different kind of work, but equally important. Nothing would get where it needs to go without people like your father. The main courses arrived mac and cheese for Lily, elevated with truffle oil, and 3 cheeses a burger for Ethan Wagyu beef, though he didn't know what that meant, and a salad for Helena that looked like art. This is the best mac and cheese ever, Lily declared after one bite. I'm glad. They make it special here. As they ate, Helena kept stealing glances at Ethan, something unreadable in her expression. Can I ask you something? She finally said. Sure. Why did you leave that night before anyone could get your name? Ethan set down his burger, considering. I needed to get home to Lily, and I don't know, it felt like staying would make it about me somehow. It wasn't about me. Most people would have stayed, waited for thanks, maybe a reward. I'm not most people. No, Helena said softly. You're not. Lily, who'd been focused on her mac and cheese, suddenly said, Daddy always helps people. Last week he fixed Mrs. Chen's door for free, and he carries Mrs. Rodriguez's groceries, and he gave his lunch to Tommy when Tommy forgot his wallet. Lily, it's true you're always helping. Mommy said that's what makes you special. Ethan felt heat rise in his cheeks. We all help each other in our neighborhood. That's how it works. Helena was studying him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. The world needs more people like you. The world needs people to have enough so they don't need help, Ethan countered, then immediately regretted it. Too political, too pointed. But Helena nodded. You're absolutely right. Dessert was offered a chocolate lava cake that Lily's eyes locked onto immediately. We should probably, Ethan started. Please, Helena said. I so rarely get to have lunch with actual people instead of business associates. This has been refreshing. The cake arrived, and Lily's expression of pure joy at the first bite made both adults smile. So, Helena said carefully, I wanted to discuss something with you. Here it comes, Ethan thought, the reward offer he'd have to politely refuse. I'd like to offer you a job. Ethan nearly choked on his coffee. What? My company needs someone to oversee facilities management at our main campus. Someone practical, reliable, good at solving problems. Someone who sees what needs doing and does it without being asked. I don't have any experience with. You have exactly the experience needed. You work in a warehouse, you understand systems and logistics. You fix things for your neighbors so you're mechanically inclined. Most importantly, you help people, which means you understand that facilities management is really about making sure people have what they need to do their jobs. Miss Blackwood. Helena, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but the salary is $85,000 a year, full benefits, including medical and dental retirement matching and flexible hours to accommodate parenting needs. Ethan felt the world tilt. $85,000. That was more than double what he made now. It was impossible. It was life-changing. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. This isn't charity, Ethan. I've built a successful company by recognizing talent and character when I see it. You have both. Daddy, Lily said quietly, are you okay? You look funny. I'm fine, baby. Is she offering you a different job? She is. Would it be better than the warehouse? Ethan looked at his daughter, her 2 small clothes, her borrowed sweater, her eyes bright with hope she was trying not to show. It would be different. Helena pulled out a folder she'd had beside her. This is the formal offer. Take it home, read it, think about it. But Ethan, this is a real position with real responsibilities. You'd be managing a team of 12, overseeing 3 buildings, reporting directly to our operations director. Why? Ethan asked. Really why? Because I saved your life. That's not a reason to hire someone. Helena was quiet for a moment. Can I be completely honest? Please. I've been successful in business for 30 years. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. I have houses, I never visit cars, I never drive art, I never look at. But when I was lying on that sidewalk dying,
None of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was that a stranger cared enough to stop. She paused, composing herself. You gave me a second chance at life. Not just by saving me physically, but by reminding me that there are still good people in the world. People who help without expecting anything in return. I want someone like that in my company. Someone who sees people not just profit margins. That's a nice speech, but it's not a speech. It's the truth. Look at the offer. Do your research on the company. You'll find we promote from within, we've never had layoffs, and our employee satisfaction scores are industry leading. I didn't build this company by making bad hiring decisions. The waiter appeared with the check, which Helena signed without looking at the total. Ethan tried not to think about what lunch had cost, probably more than his weekly grocery budget. Can I have a week to think about it? He asked. Take 2 weeks. This is a big decision. As they prepared to leave, Lily tugged on Helena's sleeve. Thank you for lunch, and for offering Daddy a job. He works really hard and deserves good things. Helena knelt down to Lily's level. Your daddy is a special person, and so are you. I can see where you get your kindness. Outside the restaurant, Helena's driver was waiting with a black car that looked like it cost more than most people's houses. Can we give you a ride home? We'll walk. It's not far. Ethan lied. It was 40 minutes, but he needed air, needed to think. Thank you for coming today, both of you. She got in the car and was gone, leaving Ethan and Lily standing on the sidewalk in their shabby clothes holding a job offer that could change everything. Daddy, Lily said, taking his hand. She seems nice. She does. Are you going to take the job? I don't know, baby. It's complicated. Good things are usually complicated, Lily said, sounding like Claire. That's what makes them interesting. They walked home slowly, Lily chattering about the fancy cheese and chocolate cake, while Ethan's mind spun through possibilities and fears. $85,000 a year, health insurance that actually covered things, retirement savings. Lily could have new clothes, proper school supplies, maybe even activities like dance or soccer. But also leaving the known for unknown, working for someone he'd saved, the potential awkwardness, the fear of failing at something beyond his experience. Back at their apartment, he spread the offer letter on the kitchen table and read every word 3 times. The benefits were even better than Helena had said: 3 weeks vacation, sick leave, that accumulated education assistance that would pay for Lily's college. It seems too good to be true, he said to Claire's photo that night after Lily was asleep. Things like this don't happen to people like us. But maybe, just maybe, sometimes they did. Sunday morning, Ethan called Joe for advice. The older man listened to the whole story without interrupting. Take it, Joe said immediately. Just like that. Ethan, opportunities like this come once in a lifetime, maybe not even that often. But what if I can't do it? What if you can? What if you're exactly what they need? Stop thinking you're not good enough. You are. The warehouse needs me. With the layoffs, the warehouse will survive. And honestly, you might not survive the cuts anyway. Take the job. That evening, Ethan sat with Lily doing homework, her at the kitchen table with math problems, him with the laptop researching Blackwood Industries. Everything he found confirmed Helena's claims. The company was solid, ethical, known for treating employees well. The facilities management team had good reviews on job sites. The building was only 30 minutes by bus from their apartment, actually closer than the warehouse. Daddy told, Lily said, you're not doing your homework. I'm researching. The job? Yeah. She put down her pencil and looked at him with Claire's serious expression. Can I say something? Always. I think Mommy would want you to take it. She always said you were capable of more than you believed. You remember her saying that? I remember everything about Mommy, and she was right. You are capable of more. Monday morning came with the usual warehouse anxiety, plus Ethan's first forklift class that evening. He hadn't told anyone about Helena's offer, still processing it himself. The efficiency review continued its reign of terror. 2 more workers were let go at morning meeting, their lockers already cleaned out, final paychecks ready. The remaining crew worked in grim determination. We're all replaceable, Tommy muttered during break. Every damn one of us. Not if you have special skills, Carlos countered. That's why Walker's getting certified. One certification won't save him if they decide to cut deep. Ethan stayed quiet, the job offer burning in his pocket where he'd put it that morning, unable to leave it at home. $85,000. These men were terrified of losing jobs that paid a third of that. The day dragged, made worse by knowing he wouldn't see Lily awake that evening. Mrs. Rodriguez had agreed to watch her, but he hated the disruption to their routine. At 5:30, instead of heading home, he reported to the training room for forklift certification. 8 other men were there, all looking tired, all sacrificing family time for the hope of job security. The instructor, a bored-looking man named Dale, went through safety procedures with the enthusiasm of someone who'd given this presentation hundreds of times. Forklifts kill more warehouse workers than any other equipment. Respect the machine, follow procedures, don't get cocky. For 3 hours, they reviewed regulations, watched videos of forklift accidents, and took practice tests. Ethan's back ached from sitting in the uncomfortable chair after a full day of physical labor. His mind kept drifting to Lily. Was she eating dinner? Did Mrs. Rodriguez remember she didn't like green beans? Was she doing her homework? When class finally ended at 9, Ethan practically ran to catch the bus. Home by 9:40, he found Lily asleep on Mrs. Rodriguez's couch. Homework complete on the coffee table. She was an angel, Mrs. Rodriguez whispered. Did all her work, ate her dinner, only asked for you 12 times. The guilt was a physical weight. Thank you for watching her. Any time. That little girl is special. He carried Lily to their apartment, her sleep-heavy body trusting completely in his arms. After tucking her in, he sat at the kitchen table with Helena's offer letter again. The money would mean no more choosing between bills, no more forklift certification classes stealing his evenings, no more efficiency reviews threatening their stability. But it also meant leaving the known world the men he'd worked beside the routine that had carried them through Claire's death. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I hope you're considering the offer. No pressure, but I wanted you to know the position has been open for 2 months. I haven't found the right person. Until now. Helena. He didn't respond, not trusting himself to make decisions at 10 p.m. on a Monday after 13 hours away from home. Tuesday morning, Lily woke up cranky from the disrupted routine. I don't like Mondays anymore, she declared over breakfast. It's Tuesday. I don't like Tuesdays after Mondays when you're gone. I know, baby. I'm sorry. It's only for a few weeks. Everything is always only for a few weeks or just until things get better. When do things actually get better? The question hung between them, unanswerable in their current situation, but potentially solved by the paper in his pocket. At work, Pete pulled him aside. How was the class? Fine. Boring, but fine. Good. Listen, I shouldn't tell you this, but there's another round of cuts coming next week, deeper than the first. How deep? 30%. Ethan felt sick. That's 12 people. At least. Maybe more if they decide to consolidate shifts. I don't know. I've fought for you, pointed out your reliability, your willingness to cross-train, but if they cut deep enough, seniority might be all that matters. The conversation made the decision for him. He couldn't risk unemployment, couldn't put Lily through that uncertainty. At lunch, he called Helena's office. Blackwood Industries, how may I direct your call to? Helena Blackwood, please. This is Ethan Walker. One moment, Mr. Walker. The fact that the receptionist knew his name was unsettling. Helena came on the line immediately. Ethan, I'm so glad you called. I'll take the job. There was silence then. Are you sure you sound... They're laying off 30% of the warehouse next week. I can't risk being unemployed, so yes, I'll take it. I want you to take it because it's right for you, not because you're desperate. Can it be both? She laughed softly. I suppose it can. When can you start? 2 weeks' notice is standard. That's fine. Can you come by tomorrow to fill out paperwork? Meet the team. I work until 5:30. Come after. Bring Lily if you need to. I'll have dinner brought in. That's not necessary. Ethan, you're about to become part of my management team. Get used to occasional perks. After hanging up, he sat in the break room staring at his peanut butter sandwich, trying to process that he'd just accepted a job making more than he'd ever dreamed possible. You okay? Joe asked, sitting beside him. I took another job. Joe's eyebrows rose. The night shift. No, something else. Better. He explained quietly, not wanting others to overhear. Joe listened, then clasped his shoulder. Good for you. And don't feel guilty about leaving. We all would if we could. It feels like abandoning a sinking ship. It feels like putting on your own oxygen mask first, like they tell you on planes. You can't help anyone if you're drowning too. That afternoon, Ethan gave Pete his notice. The supervisor looked resigned rather than surprised. Can't say I blame you. Where are you going? Blackwood Industries, facilities management. Pete whistled low. Moving up in the world. Good for you, Walker. Pete, Don't apologize. You got a kid to think about. We all do what we have to do. The news spread quickly. Some colleagues congratulated him, others gave him cold shoulders, viewing his departure as betrayal. Tommy was the worst. Must be nice having options. Rest of us are stuck here waiting to get axed. It's not like that. Sure it is. You got lucky, found something better, and you're leaving us behind. Just don't forget where you came from when you're sitting in your fancy office. The words stung because they held truth. He was leaving them behind. He was choosing his family's security over solidarity with his coworkers. It felt selfish even as he knew it was necessary. That evening, he told Lily about the job over dinner. So you won't work at the warehouse anymore? Right. I'll work at Ms. Blackwood's company. The lady from lunch. Yes. Will you be home for dinner every night? Will we have more money? He hesitated, not wanting to make promises until the reality set in. We'll have enough. Enough for new shoes, yes. Enough for the field trip to the science museum, yes. Enough to not worry all the time. The question gutted him. Yeah, baby, enough for that. She got up and hugged him tight. I'm proud of you, Daddy. You're brave to try something new. Wednesday after work, Ethan and Lily took 2 buses to reach Blackwood Industries' main campus. The building was all glass and steel, rising into the evening sky like something from a movie. Lily's eyes went wide. Daddy, it's huge. Yeah, it is. And you're going to work here. Apparently. The lobby was marble and modern art security guards who smiled professionally elevators that didn't shake or smell like despair. Everything about it screamed money and success, in a world Ethan had never belonged to. Helena met them personally, dressed more casually than at lunch, but still looking like she'd stepped from a magazine. Welcome, Lily. You look lovely. Purple really is your color. Thank you. Your building is very shiny. Too shiny sometimes. Come, let me show you around. The tour was overwhelming. 3 buildings connected by skyways, a cafeteria that looked like a restaurant, a gym for employees' conference rooms with views of the city, and the facilities department, a suite of offices with actual windows. This would be yours, Helena said, showing them a modest but clean office. It's not huge, but it's an office, Ethan interrupted. With a door and windows. Is that unusual? He thought of the warehouse break room with its flickering lights and broken coffee maker. Very unusual. Daddy, look. Lily had found a nameplate on the desk, Ethan Walker, Facilities Manager. We had it made today, Helena said. Hope that's not presumptuous. Ethan touched the nameplate, his name in brass official and permanent looking. It felt like someone else's life. They met the facilities team, 12 people who seemed competent and friendly, not openly resentful of the new boss being helicoptered in. The operations director, James Kim, was particularly welcoming. Helena's told us about you. We're looking forward to fresh perspective. I'll do my best. That's all anyone can do. Dinner was Chinese takeout in a conference room overlooking the city lights. Lily charmed everyone with her chatter about school and her ambitious plans to become a doctor-scientist-artist. That's quite a combination, James said. Daddy says I can be anything I work hard enough to become. Your daddy's right. As they prepared to leave, Helena walked them to the lobby. Thank you for coming, and Ethan, don't doubt yourself. You belong here. It doesn't feel like it yet. It will. Give it time. On the bus ride home, Lily fell asleep against his shoulder, exhausted from the excitement. Ethan stared out the window at the city passing by, thinking about how in 2 weeks everything would change. The warehouse that had been his stability through Claire's death would be behind him. The men he'd worked beside would continue their struggles without him, and he and Lily would enter a world of offices with windows and salaries that meant choices instead of sacrifices. "I hope I'm doing the right thing," he whispered to the reflection in the window. Thursday brought mixed reactions at the warehouse. Some colleagues had warmed to his departure, understanding the opportunity. Others remained cold. The divide made the workday uncomfortable conversation stopping when he approached lunch eaten alone, even by warehouse standards. Joe remained supportive, joining him during break. "They're jealous," the older man said simply. "They have a right to be." "No, they have a right to be angry at the system, not at you for finding a way out." "Feels like the same thing from where I'm sitting." "It's not. You didn't create the inequality, you're just trying to survive it like everyone else." That evening, instead of forklift training, Ethan had his second class. The practical portion actually operating the machinery under supervision. His hands were steady despite his exhaustion muscle memory from years of physical labor serving him well. "Good instincts," Dale said. "You've operated equipment before." "Different kind, but yeah." "Shows. You'll pass the certification easy." The praise felt hollow, knowing he'd never use the certification, but he'd complete the course anyway. Partially to not waste the company's investment, partially to have a backup if Blackwood Industries didn't work out. Home by 9:30, he found Lily reading to Mrs. Rodriguez, their elderly neighbor, listening with genuine interest to a story about a brave mouse. "She reads beautifully," Mrs. Rodriguez said, "like her mother." "Mommy used to read to me every night," Lily said. "Now, Daddy does, but sometimes he falls asleep in the middle." "Guilty," Ethan admitted. After Mrs. Rodriguez left, Ethan sat on Lily's bed for their nightly reading, but she had questions instead of story requests. "When you start the new job, will things change a lot?" "Some things. We'll have more money, less worry, but the important things won't change." "Like what?" "Like how much I love you. Like reading together. Like being a family." "Will we move?" The question caught him off guard. "Maybe eventually." "Would you want to?" "I don't know. I like our apartment, but it would be nice to have a yard, and windows that don't stick, and heat that works all the time." "We'll see what happens. No rush to change everything at once." "Good. Too much change is scary." "Yeah, it is." But change was coming whether they were ready or not. Friday was Ethan's last day of his first week with 2 weeks' notice given. The warehouse felt different now, temporary already part of his past, even though he still had days remaining. He worked harder than usual trying to leave everything in good order, documenting processes nobody had ever written down, training Marcus on tasks only he knew. "You don't have to do all this," Pete said, watching him create a detailed inventory checklist. "Someone needs to know how to check the weekly chemical shipments properly. The forms are tricky. Most guys leaving wouldn't care." "I'm not most guys." "No, you're not. Blackwood Industries is lucky to get you." The comment should have felt good, but guilt still gnawed at him. Survivor's guilt, maybe. Or class traitor guilt. Or just the discomfort of moving between worlds. At lunch, an announcement came over the intercom. "All staff to the break room for mandatory meeting." Everyone filed in with the grim expressions of people expecting bad news. The plant manager, Mr. Davidson, stood at the front, a man who usually only appeared for terminations or major announcements. "I'll be direct," he said. "The efficiency review is complete. We'll be reducing staff by 35% effective next Friday." The room erupted. 35% was worse than rumored. 14 people from day shift alone. "Names will be posted Monday. Those affected will receive 2 weeks severance and assistance filing for unemployment." 2 weeks, someone shouted. "After 5 years here, I get 2 weeks. "I understand your frustration." "No, you don't. You're not wondering how to feed your kids on unemployment that takes 6 weeks to kick in." Davidson continued with corporate speak about difficult decisions and economic realities, but nobody was listening. Men were doing mental math calculating survival. Ethan felt sick knowing he was escaping just in time. After the meeting, the warehouse was tomb quiet. Everyone worked mechanically, lost in private fears. Tommy wasn't even pretending to work, just sitting on a crate staring at nothing. "You okay?" Ethan asked. "I'm gone. I know it. Low seniority, no special skills history of calling in sick when my kid needs me. I'm exactly who they cut." You don't know that. Don't I? You got out just in time, Walker. Rest of us are fucked. There was nothing comforting to say that wouldn't be a lie, so Ethan just clasped Tommy's shoulder and went back to work. That evening, he walked Lily home from after school, slowly, neither eager to return to their small apartment. You're quiet, Daddy. Long day at work? Did more people get fired? Not yet, but they will next week. Are you still leaving? I have to, baby, even more now. Because they might fire you, too. Because I need to take care of us. She thought about this. It's not fair that some people get fired and others don't. No, it's not fair. Can you help them when you have your new job? I don't know how I could. Mommy always said when we have more, we share more. The simple wisdom stung. Claire would have found a way to help, would have organized something done, something beyond escaping alone. That weekend, Ethan took Lily to the library story time with the visiting author, the event he'd promised, despite originally having overtime scheduled. The author was a young woman who wrote books about brave girls solving mysteries. Lily sat transfixed in the front row, hand shooting up with every question opportunity. Where do you get your ideas? From curious girls like you who ask good questions. Is it hard to write books? Sometimes, but the best things usually are hard. My daddy's starting a hard new job, but he's brave. Ethan felt his cheeks warm as parents turned to look at him. The author smiled. Brave daddies raise brave daughters. After the event, Lily insisted on checking out all of the author's books, carrying them like treasure. I want to write books someday, she announced. You can do anything you set your mind to. Even if it's hard. Especially if it's hard. Hard things are usually worth doing. Sunday night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Tomorrow the names would be posted. 14 people would learn their jobs were ending. He'd be starting his last week at the warehouse, beginning his transition to a different life. He stood at their small window looking at the city lights, thinking about Helena Blackwood, somewhere out there in a penthouse or mansion, probably not losing sleep over employment anxiety. The gulf between their worlds seemed impossible to bridge, yet somehow he was about to try. Can't sleep. Lily's voice came from behind him. Did I wake you? No, I had a dream about Mommy. Good dream. She said to tell you it's okay to be scared. Being scared means you're doing something important. Your mom was pretty smart. So are you, Daddy, just different smart. They stood together at the window, his hand on her small shoulder, watching the city sleep and wake in its endless cycle. Monday morning came like a death sentence. Ethan arrived early, but a crowd was already gathered at the bulletin board where the list would be posted. Pete emerged from the office with a paper, his face grim. The crowd parted as he tacked it up. Ethan held back, letting others check first. The sounds told the story relief from some devastation from others. Tommy's name was there as he'd predicted. So was Marcus, despite 3 years' seniority. Carlos had survived, but barely. This is bullshit, someone said. They kept Johnson, but cut Martinez. Johnson can barely lift a box anymore. Johnson's got 20 years in. Seniority protected him. Seniority should matter less than ability. Tell that to the union. Oh, wait, we don't have one. The arguments continued, but Ethan focused on the 14 names. 14 families thrust into uncertainty. And here he was about to walk away to a salary that could probably pay 2 of their positions. Tommy was cleaning out his locker when Ethan found him. I'm sorry, man. Yeah, well, saw it coming. Tommy threw his things into a cardboard box with barely controlled violence. Wife's going to lose it. We're already behind on rent. If you need a reference, from where your fancy new office. Thanks, but no thanks. The rejection hurt, but was understandable. Ethan represented escape. They couldn't achieve success they couldn't access. The day was funeral quiet. Those leaving worked their final week in bitter silence. Those staying worked harder, trying to prove their worth, knowing the axe could fall again anytime. At lunch, Joe sat with Ethan despite the social cost of associating with someone who was leaving. Don't carry guilt that isn't yours, the older man said. Easier said than done. You think staying would help them. You think turning down opportunity would somehow make their situation better. No buts. You're doing what every one of them would do in your position. They know it even if they're too hurt to admit it. Wednesday's forklift class was surreal. Half the attendees had been laid off, but they were completing certification anyway, hoping it might help them find new work. The instructor continued his monotone delivery, oblivious to or ignoring the despair in the room. Ethan passed the written test, easily scheduling the practical exam for Friday, his last day. It seemed fitting somehow, earning a certification he'd never use on his way out the door. Thursday night, he couldn't face another evening away from Lily for class, so he called in sick to the training. One missed session wouldn't matter now. Instead, he took Lily for ice cream after dinner, a luxury they rarely indulged. They sat outside despite the cold, eating chocolate chip cookie dough and watching people pass. "Daddy, are you sad about leaving the warehouse?" "A little. I'll miss some of the people." "But you're excited about the new job." "Scared and excited both." "That's okay. I'm scared and excited about growing up." "You don't need to grow up too fast, baby." "I know, but sometimes I think if I was grown up, I could help more." "Get a job, make money so you wouldn't worry so much." "That's not your job. Your job is to be a kid, learn things, have fun." "Is it fun being a grown-up?" Ethan thought about it. "Sometimes. When I watch you laugh, or when we read together, or when I see you learning something new, those moments are fun." "What about the rest?" "The rest is just life. Some good, some bad, mostly in between." "I think your new job will have more good parts." "I hope so." "I know so." Friday. Last day. Ethan arrived to find a small gift on his workstation, a card signed by the workers who didn't hate him for leaving, and a cheap watch from the dollar store with a note. "So you won't forget the time you spent here." It was touching and heartbreaking simultaneously. These men who had so little had still pooled resources for a goodbye gift. The practical forklift exam was administered by an outside inspector who didn't know or care about the warehouse drama. Ethan operated the machine perfectly, muscle memory and spatial awareness combining for a flawless performance. "Congratulations," the inspector said, handing him the certificate. "You're officially certified." Ethan stared at the paper official acknowledgement of a skill he'd never use, earned on his last day at a job that had kept them afloat through the worst period of his life. Pete found him at day's end. "This is it then?" "Yeah. You've been a good worker walker. Reliable, honest, never complained. The new place is lucky to have you." "Thanks for everything, Pete. For the opportunity, the recommendation for certification for understanding about Claire. Take care of that little girl, and yourself." They shook hands, and Ethan walked out of Morrison Warehouse for the last time. No fanfare, no goodbye party. Just another body replaced in the machine of commerce. At the community center, Lily was waiting with a handmade card. "Congratulations on your last day," with a drawing of the warehouse and a big red X through it. "Is this appropriate?" he asked, laughing. Mrs. Henderson helped. She said it's called "Good Riddance to Bad Rubbish." The warehouse wasn't rubbish. It was just work. Work that made you tired and sad. The new job will be better. Walking home, Ethan felt unmoored. For 18 months, the warehouse had been his routine, his stability. Now he had a weekend of emptiness before starting at Blackwood Industries Monday morning. "Can we celebrate?" Lily asked. "What did you have in mind? Pizza and a movie, and staying up past bedtime." "That's a lot of celebration." "You got a new job and I got 100 on my spelling test. That deserves lots of celebration." So they celebrated. Frozen pizza that Ethan let Lily top herself, resulting in a mountain of cheese, a Disney movie from the library, and bedtime pushed back a whole hour. It felt extravagant and perfect. "Daddy," Lily said as he finally tucked her in, "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For being brave enough to try something new. Even though you're scared." "How do you know I'm scared?" "Because you've been cleaning everything twice and you only do that when you're nervous." He had been scrubbing the kitchen until it gleamed, organizing Lily's closet. Anything to keep his hands busy and mind quiet. "You're very observant." "I get it from Mommy. She always noticed things about people." "Yes, she did." "She would be proud of you, too." Saturday and Sunday passed in a blur of preparation and anxiety. Ethan tried on his 3 good shirts multiple times, finally accepting they all looked basically the same, worn but clean. He polished his 1 pair of dress shoes until they almost looked expensive.
Lily watched these preparations with amusement. You're worse than me before school pictures. This is important. So are school pictures. They last forever.
Sunday night, he stood in front of Claire's photo on the wall. I start the new job tomorrow, the one I told you about. I'm terrified I'll fail, that they'll realize I don't belong there. But I have to try. For Lily. For us. I hope you understand. The photo smiled back, frozen in eternal optimism. Monday morning arrived with unusual sunshine for October. Ethan took it as a good sign, though he didn't usually believe in signs. He dressed carefully, best shirt, pressed pants, the polished shoes. Lily insisted on fixing his hair, standing on a chair to reach her concentration absolute. Perfect, she declared. Do I look like someone who belongs in an office? You look like my daddy. That's all that matters. They walked to school together, Ethan's nerves making him talk more than usual. Remember, Mrs. Rodriguez will pick you up if I'm late. You won't be late. But if I am, Daddy, breathe, you're going to be great. At the school entrance, she hugged him extra tight. Go show them how amazing you are. I love you, baby. Love you too. Now go before you're late for your first day. The bus ride to Blackwood Industries felt like traveling to another country. The buildings got taller, cleaner, more glass than brick. People waiting at stops wore suits instead of work clothes. Even the bus itself seemed newer on this route. He arrived 15 minutes early, standing outside the gleaming entrance, watching well-dressed people stream in with coffee cups and confidence. His palms were sweating. Ethan? He turned to find Helena Blackwood herself dressed in a navy suit that probably cost more than his entire wardrobe. Good morning. I didn't expect to see you. First day tradition, I greet all new management hires personally. Shall we? They entered together. Helena's presence, parting crowds like Moses with the Red Sea. People nodded respectfully, some looking curiously at Ethan. Don't let the building intimidate you, Helena said quietly. It's just glass and steel. The people make it matter. The people all look like they graduated from colleges I couldn't afford to visit. Some did, but you'd be surprised how many worked their way up from entry level. Merit matters here more than pedigree. She walked him to HR for paperwork, tax forms, insurance selections, emergency contacts. The benefits package was overwhelming. Health insurance with no copay, dental and vision included, life insurance, retirement matching up to 6%, even a transportation stipend for commuting. This is generous, he said to the HR representative. Ms. Blackwood believes in taking care of employees. Happy workers are productive workers. Next came the office tour with James Kim, the operations director, who would be his direct supervisor. James was younger than expected, maybe 40, with an easy smile and firm handshake. Ready to see your domain. The facilities department occupied the entire third floor of Building 2. Ethan's office, his actual office, had a window overlooking the courtyard, a desk that wasn't scarred by decades of use, a computer that looked like it came from this decade. I know it's a lot, James said, but you'll have plenty of support. Your team is experienced and eager to help. The team gathered in the conference room for introductions. 12 people ranging from 20s to 60s maintenance workers to administrative staff. They seemed cautiously optimistic about their new boss. I'll be honest, Ethan said after introductions. This is new territory for me. I'm going to need your help learning systems and procedures, but I promise to listen, work hard, and support you however I can. Just don't micromanage and we'll get along fine, said Denise, a maintenance supervisor with 30 years' experience. I don't know enough to micromanage yet. That got laughs, breaking some tension. The morning was spent reviewing systems, work order, software, vendor contracts, maintenance schedules, budget reports. Ethan's head spun with information, but he took detailed notes, asked questions, admitted ignorance when necessary. At lunch, James took him to the executive cafeteria, another world of white tablecloths and actual silverware. Overwhelmed, yet completely. Good means you're paying attention. Helena wasn't wrong about you. You have good instincts. Trust them. My instincts are currently telling me to run back to the warehouse where I know what I'm doing. But you won't. No, I won't. Because my daughter deserves better than a father who runs from challenges. That's the right answer. The afternoon brought his first crisis. A water pipe burst in Building 3, flooding 2 floors of cubicles. His team looked to him for direction. For a moment, panic threatened. Then muscle memory kicked in. This was just problem solving like at the warehouse, but with better resources. Denise, get maintenance to shut off water to that section. Marcus, call our emergency restoration vendor. Sarah, start documenting damage for insurance. Everyone else, let's get salvage teams moving computers and paperwork first. Furniture later. They moved efficiently, following his direction without question. Within an hour, water was stopped, restoration crews were on site, and salvage operations were organized. Nice work, Helena said, appearing in the flood zone in rubber boots she'd somehow procured. Clean, decisive leadership. Just doing what needed doing. Exactly. That's why you're here. By day's end, the crisis was managed, insurance claims filed, and plans in place for temporary workspace for displaced employees. Ethan felt exhausted, but accomplished. Not bad for a first day, Denise said as the team wrapped up. Maybe you'll work out after all.
Maybe.
The bus ride home felt different, like he was carrying a secret belonging to 2 worlds simultaneously. When he picked up Lily from after school, she immediately demanded details. Tell me everything. Was it amazing? Did you save the day? Are people nice? He told her about the flood, making it sound more adventurous than chaotic. Her eyes went wide with delight. You're a hero on your first day. I just organized cleanup. That's what heroes do. They fix things when everything goes wrong. That evening, as they ate dinner, slightly better groceries thanks to his signing bonus, Ethan felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. Not desperate hope that things might get easier, but real hope that they actually would. Daddy, Lily said, your face looks different. Different how? Less worried, more happy maybe. Maybe. Definitely. You look like you did in the old pictures with Mommy. He thought about it. In those pictures, he'd had a partner, a future that seemed bright challenges that felt manageable. Now he had a new kind of future, uncertain but promising. Can I tell you something? Lily asked. Always. I think Mommy sent Ms. Blackwood to you, like an angel or something. You think she had a heart attack right where you'd see her. You saved her. She gave you a job. That's not coincidence, that's magic. Or luck. Mommy always said luck was just magic that people were afraid to believe in. The first month at Blackwood Industries passed in a whirlwind of learning, adjusting, and small victories. Ethan's days were filled with meetings about budgets. He was learning to read vendor negotiations. He was learning to navigate, and problems that required solutions more complex than work harder. But he was adapting, finding his footing in this world of email chains and spreadsheets. The money changed everything and nothing simultaneously. The first paycheck, more than he'd made in a month at the warehouse, went immediately to necessities. New shoes for Lily that actually fit. Winter coats for both of them. Paying off the minimum balance on credit cards. Catching up on the electric bill. There was even enough left to put $50 in savings, the first time he'd saved anything since Claire's diagnosis. Look, Daddy, Lily said one evening, modeling her new coat. It's purple and it's warm. You look beautiful, baby. And you don't have to worry about me being cold anymore. She was right. The constant low-level anxiety about basics, food, warmth, shelter, had diminished. But new anxieties had replaced them. Was he performing well enough? Did his team respect him? How long before someone realized he didn't belong? Helena checked in weekly, sometimes formally in scheduled meetings, sometimes casually, stopping by his office.
How are you settling in? She asked one afternoon, finding him surrounded by maintenance manuals. Learning curve steep, but I'm climbing. Your team speaks highly of you. Denise said you're the first manager in years who actually listens to their input. They know the work better than I do. I'd be stupid not to listen. You'd be surprised how many managers are that stupid. These conversations always felt surreal, the billionaire CEO treating him like an equal, valuing his opinion. He kept waiting for the catch, the moment when the debt would be called in, but it never came. At home, the changes were subtler but profound. Lily did homework at a kitchen table that wasn't covered in bills. They were still there, but manageable, now paid on time. Dinner included fresh vegetables, not just whatever was on sale. When Lily mentioned a school field trip,
Ethan could sign the permission slip without checking the cost. "Can Rachel come over to play?" Lily asked one Saturday.
Sure.
It was the first time she'd felt comfortable inviting a friend to their apartment. Before, she'd been embarrassed by their circumstances. Now, while still modest, their home felt less like evidence of failure. Rachel's mother, Jennifer, came to pick her up, looking around with barely concealed curiosity. "You're new to the neighborhood." "We've been here 3 years." "Oh, Lily mentioned her dad got a new job, so I thought, we're staying for now. This is home." He could have afforded a better apartment already, but Lily was right. Too much change too fast was scary, and this place held memories of Claire he wasn't ready to leave. 3 months in, Ethan faced his first major challenge. The heating system in Building 1 failed catastrophically during a February cold snap. 800 employees without heat temperatures dropping, and the regular vendor saying repairs would take a week. "Unacceptable," James said in the emergency meeting. "We need solutions." "I might know someone," Ethan said, thinking of Carlos from the warehouse whose brother ran an HVAC company. "Smaller outfit, but good work." "How fast?" "I'll find out." The call was awkward. He hadn't spoken to anyone from the warehouse since leaving, but Carlos was professional, his brother more so. They had a crew on site. Within 2 hours, temporary heaters installed by end of day, and permanent repairs completed in 3 days at half the cost of the regular vendor. "Excellent work," Helena said at the next management meeting. "Where did you find them?" "Former co-workers' family business. Good people who deserve a chance. Add them to our vendor list. I like giving chances to good people." The success felt like validation proof he could bridge his two worlds usefully. But not everything was smooth. Some of his team resented his lack of formal experience, especially Brad, an assistant manager who'd expected to get Ethan's position. "Must be nice," Brad said one day. "Getting handed a job you're not qualified for." "You're right," Ethan replied, surprising him. "I'm not qualified on paper. But I'm here, I'm learning, and I'm doing my best. If you have specific concerns about my performance, tell me. If you just want to complain, do it on your own time." Brad backed down, but the tension remained. At Lily's parent-teacher conference in March, Mrs. Patterson had only praise. "She's blooming," the teacher said. "More confident, more engaged. Whatever changes you've made at home are working." "We've had some good luck lately." "Mr. Walker, I've taught long enough to know the difference between luck and hard work. You've given that girl stability and hope. That's not luck." Walking home, Lily held his hand, something she'd started doing less as she grew older, but still allowed occasionally. "Mrs. Patterson says I'm doing great." "You are." "She says I could qualify for the advanced program next year." "That's wonderful." "It's at a different school, though. Franklin Academy." Ethan knew Franklin Academy, a public school, but in a better district with resources their current school couldn't match. It would mean longer commutes, new friends leaving the familiar. "What do you want to do?" "I want to try. Is that okay?" "Of course it's okay. We'll figure out the logistics." Maybe by then we could move closer to it. The suggestion hung between them. Moving meant leaving Claire's last home, but also meant opportunity for Lily. Maybe. April brought an unexpected visitor to Ethan's office. Joe Martinez, looking healthier than he had at the warehouse, wearing clothes that weren't stained with years of labor. "Joe, how are you?" "Good. Better. Heard you were some big shot now." "Hardly. Just trying to keep buildings running." "What brings you here?" "Job interview, maintenance position. Figured you could use someone who actually knows how to fix things." "You want to work here?" "Warehouse let go another round last month. Even senior guys like me. Retirement's not for 5 years, need something steady." Ethan didn't hesitate. "You're hired." "Don't you need to interview me?" "I've worked beside you for 18 months. I know your work ethic. When can you start?" Joe's eyes misted slightly. "You sure about this?" "Completely. Fair warning, though, it's different here. Less physical, more paperwork." "At my age, less physical sounds perfect." Having Joe on the team changed everything. Someone who knew Ethan's history, who could bridge the gap between management and workers. Someone who reminded him where he came from when the corporate world threatened to change him. "You're doing good here," Joe said after his first week. The guys respect you. You haven't forgotten how to see people as people. It's harder than I thought it would be. What is not changing, not becoming like them?
Like who? The executives who see workers as numbers, who make decisions in boardrooms that destroy lives without thinking about it. You won't become that. How do you know? Because you're having this conversation. The ones who change don't worry about changing, they just do it. May arrived with news that shocked everyone. Helena was stepping back from day-to-day operations, appointing Richard Chen as acting CEO while she dealt with health issues. She called Ethan to her office personally to explain. I need another surgery, more complex than the first. Recovery will be longer. I'm sorry. Don't be. You gave me extra years I wouldn't have had. I'm using them to fix things properly this time. Is there anything I can do? Keep doing what you're doing. Take care of your people. Show others that leadership isn't about authority, it's about service. That sounds like a goodbye speech. It's not. It's a see you in 6 months speech. Richard will run things fine, but he lacks humanity sometimes. Don't let him forget the people behind the numbers. The surgery was scheduled for June. Ethan found himself checking his phone constantly that day, waiting for news. When the text came from Helena's assistant that surgery was successful, he actually cried in his office, surprising himself with the depth of his concern. You okay, boss? Denise asked, catching him wiping his eyes. Yeah, just good news about a friend. She studied him knowingly. Ms. Blackwood means a lot to all of us, but I think she means something extra to you. She changed my life. From what I hear, you changed hers first. That evening, Lily made a get well card for Helena, drawing hearts with bandages and a stick figure labeled Ms. B, surrounded by other figures labeled people who care about you. Can we visit her? When she's feeling better. I want to thank her. For what? For making you happy again. You smile more now. Real smiles, not the fake ones you used to do. I didn't know you could tell the difference. I can always tell Daddy. Summer came with decisions. Franklin Academy accepted Lily for their advanced program. The commute from their current apartment would be 90 minutes each way by bus. Moving became necessary rather than optional. They spent weekends looking at apartments closer to the school, each one a trade-off. Nicer meant more expensive. Affordable meant farther from work. Nothing felt quite right. What about a house? Lily suggested after another disappointing apartment viewing. Houses are expensive, baby. But you have a good job now, and we could have a yard, maybe get a dog. A dog was a new request, probably inspired by her friend Rachel's puppy. But the idea of a house of real stability of ownership rather than renting it was tempting and terrifying. Let me look into it. The first mortgage application was rejected insufficient credit history. The second required a larger down payment than he had, but the third, through a program Helena's assistant mentioned for first-time buyers, was approved. The interest rate was higher than ideal but manageable with his new salary. The house they found was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom built in the 1950s. It needed work, new paint, updated kitchen yard maintenance. But it had potential, and it was theirs. Can we afford this? Lily asked, surprisingly practical for 9 years old. We can. It'll be tight at first, but we can. What would Mommy think? Ethan looked at the house, modest, imperfect, but theirs. She'd say it's perfect for new beginnings. They moved in July with help from Joe and surprisingly several team members from work. Denise brought sandwiches. Marcus from maintenance fixed a leaky faucet without being asked. Even Brad showed up with a housewarming plant. Nice place, Brad said, looking around. Good neighborhood for kids. Thanks for coming. Look, I owe you an apology. I was an ass when you started. You were protecting your territory. I understand. No, I was jealous. But watching you work how you treat people, I get why Helena chose you now. The reconciliation felt like closing a circle, completing his transition from outsider to accepted leader. That night in their new house with boxes still everywhere, Ethan and Lily ate pizza on the living room floor. It feels different, Lily said. Good, different, or bad, different? Both. Good because it's ours. Sad because Mommy never saw it. She sees it. Wherever she is, she sees us. Do you really believe that? I choose to believe it. Then I choose to believe it too. Helena returned to work in August thinner, but with more energy than before. She stopped by Ethan's office her first day back. I heard you bought a house. Small one, but yes. And Lily's starting at Franklin Academy. Next month. You've built quite a life in the past year.
Thanks to you. No, thanks to you. I just opened a door. You walked through it and did the work. Why did you really hire me, the truth? Helena sat in his visitor chair looking out his window at the courtyard below where employees ate lunch in the sunshine. Because when I was dying, you saw a person, not an opportunity. Do you know how rare that is? Most people would have calculated advantage, waited for cameras, made sure they got credit. You just helped and left. Anyone would have. No, they wouldn't. I know because people walked past. And in that moment, I realized I'd become someone people walk past. Too important, too removed, too inhuman. You reminded me that we're all just people who need help sometimes. You've helped me more than I helped you. Have I? You saved my life, Ethan. Everything else is just gratitude manifesting as opportunity. September meant new beginnings. Lily started at Franklin Academy nervous but excited. The uniform cost more than Ethan used to spend on clothes in a year, but seeing her walk through those doors with confidence made every penny worthwhile. His own work had evolved from crisis management to strategic planning. He was proposing efficiency improvements, cost-saving measures that didn't sacrifice jobs, programs to hire from communities typically overlooked like former warehouse workers. You're trying to change corporate culture, James observed during a review. Is that bad? No, it's necessary. Keep pushing. The program to hire and train workers from blue-collar backgrounds became Ethan's passion project. He remembered the capable people at the warehouse limited only by opportunity. Within 6 months, he'd brought in 5 former colleagues, all thriving in their new roles. Tommy, who'd been laid off that brutal Monday, now worked in shipping and receiving. His gratitude was profound. You didn't forget us, he said simply. We don't forget where we come from. October marked 1 year since Helena's first heart attack, since that night on the sidewalk that changed everything. She invited Ethan and Lily to dinner at her penthouse to mark the occasion. The penthouse was everything Ethan had imagined, floor-to-ceiling windows art that belonged in museums, furniture that cost more than houses. But Helena seemed small in it alone despite the luxury. It's beautiful, Lily said politely, but Ethan heard the unspoken, but cold. It's excessive, Helena admitted. I've been thinking of downsizing. To what? Lily asked. Something with neighbors, maybe a yard, somewhere you could visit without taking an elevator to the sky. That sounds nice. They ate dinner prepared by Helena's chef, but the conversation was what nourished them. Helena asked about Lily's school, her dreams, her memories of Claire. She shared her own stories of loss of building walls, through success of learning too late that connection mattered more than achievement. Can I ask you something? Lily said as dessert was served. Anything. Are you lonely? The directness was pure, Lily, but Ethan started to redirect. Helena stopped him. Yes, she said simply. Very lonely sometimes. You could have dinner with us. Daddy makes good spaghetti. I'd like that. And so began a new tradition. Sunday dinners at the Walker house. Helena bringing dessert from expensive bakeries, eventually learning to make salad, then attempting garlic bread. The billionaire CEO becoming Aunt Helena to Lily, becoming family in ways that had nothing to do with money or obligation. November brought Ethan's first annual review. The assessment was glowing, exceeded expectations in every category, salary increase of 15% bonus that would cover Lily's summer camp and still leave savings. You've transformed the facilities department, James said. Morale is up, efficiency improved, costs down without sacrificing quality. How? I treat people like they matter. It's not complicated. It shouldn't be, but somehow it is for most managers. That evening, Ethan stood in his small backyard, their backyard, watching Lily rake leaves into piles just to jump in them. The house needed painting, the fence needed repair, but it was theirs. His phone rang. Joe. You see the news about Morrison Warehouse? Know what happened? Shutting down, completely. All operations moving to automated facility in Mexico. Ethan felt sick. Everyone? Everyone? Pete, Carlos, the whole crew, 30 days notice. After ending the call, Ethan sat on the porch steps, head in his hands. He'd escaped just in time, but survivor's guilt crashed over him in waves. Daddy, Lily appeared beside him. What's wrong? The warehouse where I used to work is closing. All my old friends are losing their jobs. Can you help them? I don't know how. You helped Joe and Tommy. Maybe you can help others. The simple faith in his ability to fix things was touching, but felt misplaced. He was one man with limited influence. But maybe. That night he drafted a proposal. Blackwood Industries was expanding, always needing reliable workers. Why not create a transition program specifically for displaced workers? Training, job placement support during the adjustment. He refined it over the weekend, adding budget projections, success metrics from his smaller hiring initiative, testimonials from Joe and Tommy. Monday morning, he presented it to James. This is ambitious. These are good people who just need chances. Helena will want to see this, presented at the Wednesday leadership meeting. Wednesday's presentation was terrifying. The C-suite executives, board members, Helena at the head of the table. Ethan, in his best shirt, trying not to let his hands shake. He told them about the warehouse, about capable people discarded like broken equipment, about the talent wasted because no one looked beyond blue collars to see potential, about Joe's reliability, Tommy's transformation, the 5 others successfully integrated. The program would cost approximately $200,000 annually, he concluded, but the return in loyalty and work ethic and diversity of thought would be invaluable. The room was quiet. Then Helena spoke. I was given a second chance by someone who saw my humanity when I was just a body on a sidewalk. This company succeeded because we took chances on people, not just proven quantities. I motioned to approve the program. The vote was unanimous. The Blackwood Industries Worker Transition Program launched in January, just as Morrison Warehouse closed. 30 former employees applied. 20 were hired into various positions. Pete became a logistics coordinator. Carlos joined maintenance. Others found places in shipping receiving administration. The program became a model, other companies requesting information media coverage following. But for Ethan, it was personal. These were his people, and he'd found a way to not leave them behind. You did it, Joe said one day watching Carlos train a new employee. You didn't forget. We don't forget. We lift each other up. February brought unexpected news. Helena was retiring officially this time. Richard would become permanent CEO. But first she had announcements. At the all-hands meeting, she stood at the podium one last time. Blackwood Industries has always been about more than profit. It's about people. The security guard who knows everyone's name, the janitor who takes pride in clean floors, the facilities manager who sees potential where others see problems. She looked directly at Ethan. I'm establishing the Blackwood Foundation dedicated to workforce development and second chances. Leading it will be someone who understands that everyone deserves opportunity, Ethan Walker. The announcement hit like lightning. Foundation director meant leaving facilities management but expanding his impact exponentially. It meant a salary that would secure Lily's entire future. It meant becoming the bridge between worlds he'd been building toward. I don't know foundations, but he told Helena after. You know people. That's all that matters. March was transition time. Training his replacement, Denise promoted deservedly learning foundation management, understanding the scope of possibility. The foundation had $50 million in funding partnerships with community colleges, connections to industries nationwide. We can help thousands, Helena explained. Maybe hundreds of thousands eventually. It's too much. No, it's exactly enough. You saved one life, mine. Now you get to save countless others. Lily understood the magnitude differently. Daddy, you're going to help so many people find jobs. That's the plan. Like a superhero, but for work. I don't think that's a superhero category. It should be. The house felt different now, not physically still the same small rooms and creaky floors, but the weight that had lived there, the constant press of financial anxiety was gone. They could plan beyond next month, dream beyond survival. We could travel this summer, Ethan suggested one evening. Really? Where?
Wherever you want. Disney World, the Grand Canyon, the ocean. Can we visit Mommy's grave first? I want to tell her about everything. Of course. They went on a Sunday, flowers in hand. The cemetery was peaceful. Claire's stones simple but well-maintained now that Ethan could afford proper care. Hi, Mommy, Lily said, arranging the flowers carefully. Daddy's a director now. He helps people get jobs. We have a house with a yard. I go to a good school. We're okay. Better than okay.
But we miss you. Ethan knelt beside his daughter, hand on the cold stone. She would be so proud, he said. Of both of us, Lily added. We did it, Daddy. We survived, and then we did more than survive. What do you mean? We helped others survive, too. That's what Mommy would have wanted most. Standing in that cemetery, Ethan thought about the journey from that rainy night when he'd saved Helena to this moment. The warehouse struggles, the fear of failure, the impossible leap between worlds, all of it leading here to a life where he could provide for his daughter while lifting others up. Thank you, he whispered to Claire's memory, for Lily, for teaching me to help, for somehow guiding that woman to that sidewalk at that moment. Whether it was cosmic intervention or random chance didn't matter. What mattered was what came next, the lives they'd change, the opportunities they'd create, the proof that sometimes saving one life could ripple outward to save hundreds. The drive home was quiet, both lost in thoughts. As they pulled into their driveway, Lily said, Helena's coming for dinner tonight, right? Right, she's bringing dessert. Good, I want to talk to her about the foundation. I have ideas. What kind of ideas? Programs for kids whose parents are looking for work, like after-school care so parents can go to interviews. That's brilliant. I know what it's like to worry about your parent. Maybe we can help kids worry less. That evening, as Helena, Ethan, and Lily sat around their small dining table eating spaghetti and planning programs that would change lives, the circle felt complete. The billionaire who'd needed saving, the man who'd stopped to help the child who'd shown them both what family meant, bound together by chance, sustained by choice, committed to passing forward the gift of second chances. To unexpected families, Helena toasted with her water glass. To second chances, Ethan added. To helping people, Lily concluded. They clinked glasses in the small kitchen of the modest house, three people who'd found each other in the darkness and chosen to walk toward light together. Outside, spring rain began to fall, not unlike that night 2 years ago when everything changed. But inside they were warm, safe, and home, not just in the house, but in the family they'd built from kindness, courage, and the radical belief that everyone deserved to be seen saved and given the chance to soar. The Blackwood Foundation's first year helped 300 displaced workers find new careers. By year 5, it was 3,000. By year 10, when Lily graduated from Franklin Academy as valedictorian, it had become a national model, helping 50,000 Americans transition from dying industries to living wages. At Lily's graduation, she spoke about second chances, about fathers who stop to help strangers, about strangers who become family. In the audience, Ethan sat between Helena, frailer now but still fierce, and Joe, retired but consulting for the foundation. Tommy was there with his family, Pete with his Carlos and Denise, and Brad, and dozens of others whose lives had intersected and improved because one night a desperate man chose to help. My father taught me, Lily said from the podium, that we rise by lifting others, that kindness isn't weakness but strength, that every person deserves the chance to become who they're meant to be. She looked directly at Ethan. He saved one life on a sidewalk. That life saved ours, and together we're saving thousands more. That's how the world changes, one act of kindness creating ripples that become waves. Later, as they celebrated at the house that had grown through additions but kept its humble heart, Helena pulled Ethan aside. You know what I realized? What? I spent my whole life building a business empire. But this, what we've built together, this is my legacy. Not the company, but the lives changed because you stopped to help. You changed my life too. We changed each other's. That's what family does. As the evening wound down, Ethan stood in his backyard, watching his extended chosen family laugh and eat and celebrate. The scared single father from the warehouse was still there inside him, but wrapped now in layers of growth, success, and purpose. Lily appeared beside him, 18 and brilliant, headed to college on a full scholarship to study public policy. "You okay, Dad?" Just thinking about how different this all could have been. But it isn't different, it's exactly this. And this is perfect. She was right. Every struggle, every fear, every moment of desperation had led here. The warehouse had made him strong. Losing Claire had taught him to cherish. Saving Helena had opened doors. But walking through them, that had been choice, courage, and the conviction that everyone deserved their chance at more. "Come on," Lily said, taking his hand like she had as a child. "Aunt Helena wants to discuss the new program for single parents. She says you'd have insights." He laughed, letting his daughter lead him back to the gathering. "I might have a few thoughts." As they rejoined the celebration, Ethan caught a glimpse of Claire's photo on the mantel, surrounded now by pictures of their expanded family. Her smile seemed to say what she'd always believed, that love multiplied when shared, that helping others helped yourself, that the worst moments could become the foundation for the best ones. The rain that had started falling didn't dampen the party. If anything, it reminded them all of where they'd started, desperate people on dark sidewalks, choosing to help, choosing to hope, choosing to build something beautiful from broken pieces. The story that began with a heart stopping on pavement had become something else entirely, a heart expanding to include everyone it touched, beating stronger with each life lifted, proving that sometimes the greatest fortune isn't what you're given, but what you give away.